I'll take a chance and let you in. Just take my hand and take me home tonight. We defeat all impossibilities. Yeah, you and me. We'll take our hearts and run free into the into the world.
to another wonderful week of the Supergirl Gamer Pro series here. Tournament week number 3. Week 1, we had Gamer Snails taking it home. Week 2, we had a couple new finalists, Your Nightmares showing up. And week 3, we've got a few new teams in this final bracket. My name is Lisa Jolly. I'm joined here by Kari. How are you doing, Kari?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited again, as per usual, as the hype man out of these casters. I'm just kidding. I'm really excited again. We've had an incredibly dynamic bracket, and it's been amazing watching these teams grow and seeing them. I mean, we've seen all sorts of ups and all sorts of downs, and I can't tell you how excited I am to watch, especially our first match. So.
Yeah, speaking of ups and downs, our first match is going to be a killer one. We already have Your Nightmares here. We start with quarterfinals, 2 games of quarterfinals, 1 semifinals. Sorry, 1 game of quarterfinals, 2 semifinals. Checking notes. 2 semifinals, and then our 1 final game. These are all best of 1 games. But we have the returning victors from last week, Your Nightmares, going up against the U.S. Air Force team here to start things off. So a pretty exciting matchup. I know we've seen U.S. Air Force Academy in a lot of tournaments in the past. So far, though, we have not seen them that participate here in the Supergirl Gamer Pro series. So I'm very stoked to have them here. What are you looking forward to this week, just based on the craziness that we saw there last week?
Okay, listen, Your Nightmares, the steal that they had. I remember the very first thing that you said after we saw that dragon fight, and then the immediate pivot to the Nexus. You were like, there was a 100 gold disparity between those teams at the
Yep.
end of that fight. Like, it was absolutely incredible. That was one of the closest games we've ever seen. We thought it was going to go one way. It absolutely went the other way, and the game ended so abruptly. And there was something so adrenaline filled about the way that game went. So I'm looking forward to more of those close calls as these tournaments kind of get ramped up, and as people get more points, and as more teams gain more prevalence. We start to see these closer games, and they get really exciting because the stakes are so high. They can capitalize on any sort of issues that any of the other teams succumb to, and they can really just one mistake and it's over. And I love that. I think the stakes could not be higher.
And the cool thing about this, too, is because this is over the course of the 9 weeks, we're only the 3rd week in, we can witness a complete upset here at this point, or also, in weeks to come. So we do have a few new teams on the bracket that we're going to be seeing here today, not just the U.S. Air Force that's showing up here for the first game, several new, and also a few returning teams that we've seen in the past here. So much excitement lined up. We are going to have a bracket that we'll set up for you guys here in a little bit so you can kind of see what the layout's looking like for tonight's games, and we'll keep that updated and let you guys know, flash that across in between each game. Usually right after the commercials, I think, is when we're going to set that guy up. So keep an eye out for the updated brackets, as well as the overall bracket, including the points that have currently been distributed. So I think we've got, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've got a tie right now for the first place slot. I'll have to double check that. I should check things before I, talk. But you know what? That's all right. I'm paid to shout at things, I think. So getting in. Yeah, and this is standard, the Supergirl Gamer Pro series. If you guys are just joining us for the first time this week, this is a series dedicated to women in gaming. The Supergirl Pro group has been around since 2007. They run tournaments all around the world, lots of traditional sports, if you will, or meat sports, as I like to call them, things like skateboarding, surfing, things of that nature, entirely women. This one is a little bit different in that it's not just strictly females. We do have a few males because these teams are comprised of 5 players, so we're looking at least 3 female or non-binary players per each team. So the majority female is what we're looking at, still sticking to that Supergirl Gamer Pro, but also being a little bit more inclusive this time around. Looking over as well at, we got, not only do we have the Air Force team, but you'll notice that they are here, they made it through, and also are here as our sponsors, along with the Marines, GameStop, Zenny Gaming, and Nissan. So a few big names that I'm sure you guys have already heard of before, if you haven't heard us talking them up like we have here in the past.
Yeah, super thankful to have those sponsors too, honestly. I get migraines, so if I don't have blue light blocking glasses on, I'm out of luck. So it's really nice to be able to have those to cast in
Yes.
specifically. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and GameStop actually, there's something really cool. It's funny enough, I didn't know about this information until we were set the production book a few weeks ago. But if you go to GameStop.com/esports, not only can you get a lot of cool information on the current esports state of things, but you can actually get like tutorials, tips, things like that from pro players, from organizations themselves, and things of that nature to get into esports, really of any variety. If you want to do streaming, if you want to do casting, there's tips and videos and tricks and things like that all across that website. So totally check that out if you're interested in getting involved in esports. There are so many aspects to it that a lot of people don't even realize. Whether it's the production side of things, the talent casting side of things, or the player side of things, there's so much more that people don't really talk about because it's a little more behind the scenes. So if you want a little bit more information or some tips and tricks, go check out GameStop.com/esports. Other than that, we're going to be kicking it off here relatively soon in terms of the game. Like I mentioned, the winners of last week, your Nightmares, going up against the U.S. Air Force Academy team here. So we're going to see some new players in the Rift, as well as not just some returning players, but some victorious players here. How do you expect this first one to go down, Kari? I know we don't have any information on Air Force as it is right now, but we do know about your Nightmares.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just looking at my notes here. Still not intimately familiar enough with the players to remember them off the top of my head. I hope you guys will forgive me. But in our last game, I remember it was such a joy to watch these junglers. It hasn't even been in the last game that we had between Your Nightmares and Limit Testers, but it's been an entire theme. Everybody's been playing to top, which I think is a really fun dynamic. It's definitely different from the previous meta where everything was kind of focused on bot lane, all the action was happening, and top used to be an island. You've mentioned this before multiple times. It is a massive deviation from previous league metas, and I think that that's been really interesting, playing to top, especially because these junglers and these top laners are so good at what they do. It almost makes you feel like for like the last 10 years that League of Legends has been around, top players have just been on the bench waiting to be
Right.
tagged in, like, "Got me in, Captain," and they finally get some action. And I think we've seen some really incredible games, but the junglers are specifically the stars of this game. Alpha male jungler, who we very recently found out is a woman.
My new favorite. I don't want to pick favorites, but that's just spectacular.
Yeah, we do pick favorites, but we just try. But I mean, honestly, the joke's inherent in that name. Really great. Jolly and I were actually talking about the tone of the tournament, and we've really enjoyed how joyous it is. Honestly, it's been a really fun. Our teams are super personable. Everybody's really lighthearted. While still taking the actual games themselves extremely serious. So Alpha Male Jungler, we're looking out for you, and we're hoping to see some really good action there, because it has absolutely been, I think they ended their last game at 5-5-6, which sounds lackluster, but considering the way that they stole the Nexus after that jungle fight, after they literally poached the dragon right out from under Limit Testers, and from that won the game. And that's all absolutely owed to Alpha Male Jungler.
Oh, it was in anyone's hands at that point. It was so back and forth, that game in particular, and all the games last week, even after just 1 week of doing this, to see games go that even 4 in a row, the quarterfinals into the semifinals, into the actual finals, and not being too heavy-handed in one direction or another there. Focus on objectives has been huge, as is pretty standard, but like you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of action in the jungle and the top lane, which I also adore. I started as a top lane player. I gave up because it was so boring. And I was like, all right, so one of us has to wait until a tower goes down on either side, and then we get to team fight. This isn't too much fun, but we're seeing a great variety of top laners and junglers specifically as those. So even though a lot of these players have tried to ban out the opposing team's players, they're not getting away with it because they have these pocket picks and these flex picks that they're able to implement later on in these tournaments. We'll see how long it lasts, depending on how far some of these players go within each of the weeks. We do have 9 weeks total, so it's going to be another 6 weeks after this week. If you guys are interested, you're still more than welcome to sign up for the upcoming weeks. Just go to the Supergirl website there, or the Twitter. I'll get that exact information here in just a moment. And keep an eye on that, and that way you can sign up as it comes through. Like I said, we can still get an upset here in terms of the point spread.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we're going to go to a break right now, but we will be back with the action in a minute here.
No one knows where it comes from. Why some have it and some don't. It's the fighting spirit. It consumes fear and weakness. that stands ready to fight whatever shape the battle takes. Because as long as there are battles, there will always be Marines.
You can trade all the games, accessories, consoles, and tech you don't use anymore to get cash or store credit at GameStop. Check out the Trade Center on the GameStop app, visit GameStop.com/trade, or talk to a guest advisor at your local GameStop store to see how much your trades are worth.
So I'm gonna hold on promoting you this quarter. Cool?
Drop the taco. Get in the car. Does this Sentra feel like a compromise to you?
Wait, what?
The handling, it's good, right? No compromise there.
Nope. Watch this. Brake.
Rear automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra isn't gonna compromise, why should you?
You're right.
Atta girl.
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class.
I never thought I'd feel this way.
No, don't hold on to me.
It's all worth it.
Ladies, Chris,
I hear that's really bad for you.
What? No, this is about finding true love.
No, I mean the screen.
Oh, no, we're all good there. These Zenny lenses, they block the blue light.
I mean, that's still really bad for you.
This is amazing. Please go away.
Chelsea.
Oh, no, don't pick her. Oh.
For a long time, we had to prove ourselves. But we always knew what we were capable of. We knew when the time came, we would be ready for anything. Our numbers keep rising. And so do we.
Welcome back after that wonderful commercial break. We're going to be hopping into Champion Select here relatively soon, I believe, and we'll get the bracket up after this game for you guys heading into the next one. Speaking of the draft that's coming up here, and based on the fact that we have seen your Nightmares earlier on, what are you either expecting or hoping to see from this new team, or even just returning from your Nightmares?
Gosh, okay, so here are the things that I want to see. And I know you guys are watching, so I want you to listen carefully. Alpha Male Jungler, keep control of that map. You're doing so well. We're really impressed. We're super proud. And when you're going into something new, I mean, as was the same thing with Limit Testers versus your Nightmares, you have no idea what the other team knows about you, especially because we have 2 weeks worth of VODs that they can watch. They have your usernames now. They know your tricks. So that strong map control, do not give them anything unless, you want to spice it up and maybe lose on purpose. I don't know. The other thing, Solaris Revenge, that mid control and that confidence, I think that's something that you and I we found super admirable in their very first game. The big brain Cassiopeia plays in their first game from Solaris Revenge, really cool to watch, lots of fun. And I'm hoping to see more of that fun mid gameplay, especially because, like we've talked about before, it's been very jungle and top focused. I don't know at this point if it's even wise to talk to the bot lane. Like, they've got it so on lockdown. Every single bot lane has behaved themselves very well. We've had no feeding on the bot lane. They seem to be the stalwart base of the party. You know what I mean? As long as they keep it together, the rest of the party can do it as well. I'm just going to start calling bot lane support lane now.
I love it. And it's not even that, it's not as though it's an anticlimactic lane or something that's not exciting happening down there, because it is a lot of really solid back and forth, but that just goes to show how heavily swaying these top laners, junglers, and then, in some of the later games that we've seen, in the longer games as well, those mid laners coming to fruition really on some of the champions that they've been playing. A lot more of the scaling champions, the Cassiopeia being on there, and we saw them take down, Wukong, Zac, and an Ahri, which is so engage heavy. That was Limit Testers last week. They weren't able to pop off. That Fiora in the top lane doing a great job as well. So honestly, the bottom lane, we've seen some insanity as well in terms of these picks and these bans and the draft phases. I mean, lots of Lulus last week, I will say that. Are you expecting to see the same kind of style in terms of the bottom lane, or do you think we'll see some more, classics down there, more like a Nami or the AP bases?
Yeah, I think we're still going to see the Lulu. It's a really good pick right now, really strong. I think we're probably, listen, the Ame special is Ashe. We are very familiar with Ame's Ashe right now, and I think that's probably going to still be the pick if I had to predict. If we see something different on Ame, that means that Your Nightmare's probably been studying, probably been scrimming a little, might get a little bit spicy. So keep an eye on that for the ADC pick. I genuinely think Clorox on the Rocks is probably either going to do I think it's still going to be control heavy. I think it's going to be CC and control heavy. So I think we're either going to see Lulu, maybe perhaps Karma, Nami if you're feeling spicy. So that's kind of what I'm come to expect in that bot lane. I know where am I Leona?
Where are my heavy tankies at? We've had so much in terms of the aggressive supports with these pretty standard, really solid ADCs. Nothing too crazy. We haven't seen anything like a Philios or anything too insanely, I don't want to say technical because that's the most technical that you're going to get in the bottom lane. We did see a Kaisa pop out last week. That was also on Ame, so that might be another selection that they go with. They obviously won that game, making it into the finals, as that was one of the semifinal games, the first one that we ended up broadcasting there. So hopefully a little bit more of that too, just a little more fun to watch, in my opinion, a little more fun to cast. Though those crystalline arrows coming through and really nailing some of those later game fights that we saw coming from Ame were pretty decent. I do know as well, just based on the 3 females, I'm sure that there are some changes to the U.S. Air Force team as we're normally used to seeing. If you guys have seen them in any other tournaments, they're pretty popular in terms of that and on the high end of tournaments that I've witnessed in the past here. So seeing a few new players, maybe a couple of those staple players, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what they decide to go with on these, not just with the drafts, but with the player styles as well going into it. Let's love the diversity.
Champ select, eh?
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. Yes.
No worries.
Every time I'm pretty sure this is my favorite.
No,
part.
you're good. I got
It's
you.
a habitual response. All right. Air Force Gaming, it appears, is going to be here on the blue side. Your Nightmares reigning supreme on the red side, and that was a little bit of a broken theme. Week 1, we saw only blue side victories. Week 2, we had red, then blue, then red, then blue. So Your Nightmares is familiar with both of those sides, though in the past, or at least last week, they were victorious both sides on blue. So this will be the first time that we're seeing them here in a little while on the red side, which might be interesting.
Jolly, what is your favorite side?
I prefer blue side most of the time. I feel like I win more often on blue side. That's just because I get placed there, but
everyone has their league superstitions, you know what I mean? I was very curious to hear about yours. Looks like we've got a Vayne ban there for Ame. Nobody likes to lane against Vayne, especially if you lose that lane, because a bot lane with a fed Vayne, I think there's probably some saying about that actually, but not good for the other team.
Already rhymed.
Yeah.
Lane and Vayne. So we've got, let's see, Hedgehog Cute in the top lane here for Air Force Gaming, Captain G Dog, Ben the Dominator in the mid lane, Saint Samaquinas in the ADC. Sorry if we butcher these again. I blame you for having a crazy name. And Speedy Speed Boy there in the support lane. And then what are we looking at for Your Nightmares here?
In Your Nightmares, we got Sign Me Up, good old favorite there, fan favorite, Alpha Male Jungle, the hero of this story. Solaris Revenge, the stalwart leader. We've got Ame, and we've got Clorox on the Rocks in that bot lane. Looking good, feeling good. What do we got for bans right now? What are we looking at?
Air Force has banned out, as you mentioned, the Vayne there. They're going to follow it up with the Vi, that heavy aggressive that we did see on Alpha Male Jungle, and then the Kassadin to close it out. Your Nightmares is going to round out their first phase too. Don't want to see that Kayn. That's something that they have experienced in the past. Not going to run with that. The Ezreal and the Set to round that one up.
Gosh, it makes you wonder why they banned out that Ezreal. What are they planning? Is it that Kaisa again because they don't want the range against their bot lane? What are you thinking there?
He's a heavy engager, and I think they might be going for their heavy engaged team as well, trying to restrict that deep dive early on. Hence the Kayn and the Set as well. Kind of rounds it out in a high aggression team there. So it definitely, I would assume that they're going to select some really high engaged champions, some really aggressive bursty champions like we've seen from them in the past. That seemed to be kind of the name of the game last week. We see our first lock in there for Air Force. It's going to be a Senna.
Yeah, and we actually have a Lilia lock in there, which I think is going to be excellent. Full disclosure, listen, I'm a professional. I have not seen Lilia gameplay because I had a real busy week, but I'm really excited. I know her moveset, so this will be a delight for me, honestly, to be able to actually see her in action. I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm really, Jolly, you're gonna have to carry me on that one, but I'm.
You know, it's sad to say that I've only seen her in Nexus Blitz several times.
Oh, man, we're all addicted to Nexus now.
It's a pretty map right now. It's a pretty event map. They're gonna follow it up with the Ziggs lock in here. So pretty standard mid laner, but we have not seen a Ziggs picked up, I don't believe, in any of these games so far. So that's an exciting one. And definitely bursty as well. Allows for a lot of engage there from the jungle, potentially, with a little bit of a slow and some burst damage to follow it up. And on the other side, we got that pretty Nico girl. And Ben the Dominator has locked in the Tryndamere as well, most likely for his top lane. I would hopefully assume for his top lane.
Nah, Trin support, definitely. No, yeah, Trin top. We've got a very solid team on both sides here. Really excited about that Ashe. Like I said, Ame is always where they need to be, which I think is one of the best skills that you can have, positioning with an ADC. And I'm really excited to see how Air Force Gaming deals with that, because it does seem like they are aware that Ame is a threat with that Vayne ban, sort of a respect ban, like, hey, other teams have not seen you, but we will.
Yeah, good call on that one, Kari. You just mentioned a little bit ago that we should expect to see that Ashe come out. If it doesn't come out in the form of a ban, it will likely come out in the form of a pick there. And Ame has decided to go with a staple champion of the Ashe. Now to see who will be the support in that lane will be interesting. You talked about the Lulu potentially. We got a few jungle bans coming out. As Nico has been the selection there. Actually, an interesting set of bans considering the Nico has already been selected there, unless it's going to be, a mid lane Nico, which is very possible, but you're looking at the Master Yi and the Nunu. And then on the other side, we got a Fiora, and we'll be seeing one more to quickly ban that out. I guess we do see Nico. I'm still used to early Nico when she was around in the jungle, but much more frequently run in the mid lane. So that makes more sense now that I, say it out loud.
You know, it's funny. It's like I remember the Nico jungle consideration, and now it just seems like they gave Nico horse legs, and that's Lilia. They just keep throwing it at the wall until people start playing her in the jungle instead. League players, not easy to control, especially how they decide to use champions. Hey, it's your boy Rakan. How you feeling about that?
It is. I love me some Rakan. Rakan is, speaking of that heavy engage that we've seen from these guys, he is the epitome of that. You've got the ability to jump in and jump out. An entire team taunt is absolutely ludicrous in a single champion, and then to be able to just disengage very quickly, even a second time potentially with the shield. I love it. On the other side, we got some heavy damage dealers as well for the lock-ins. It looks like a Darius is being selected here, so I don't even know what's happening. I jinxed it. Did I jinx it? Is that what I did?
Listen, I don't think you jinxed it. Don't blame yourself. There's no way you can't blame yourself. I don't know what's going on. We'll see this is... Air Force Gaming, like you said, they are implicit professionals as far as these tournaments go, so I'm really excited. Do you recognize any of the players on the Air Force Gaming side from your past casting gigs?
I don't. Well, maybe, a couple of the names. Captain G-Dog might sound a little bit familiar, but I'm assuming, like I said, quite a few changes now just based on the fact that it is required to be 3 females, and in the past I've seen only guys up on that stage. They do actually play. The really cool thing is these guys do actually play in their flight suits, at least when they are on stage for a tournament. So it's interesting to see, some new people popping on in here. Yeah, we've definitely seen, I've casted them personally at a couple big tournaments, and they have done incredibly well. I always feel bad for these guys, because no matter what they are doing, no matter where they're traveling to, they always encounter some sort of issue in terms of their travel. To arrive at location, but they show up sometimes 10 minutes before the tournament starts, and they always play their A game. So a great set of people, as well as an exciting team to see jump into this tournament for us for the first week.
Oh, I love it. You love to see it. You like to see they're scrappy, which has actually been kind of a theme of all these tournaments here, is even the losing team, so scrappy, fight till the end. We haven't seen any of those big stomps, where the other team actually gives up, or they sit on the Nexus and BM. We haven't seen anything like that. I don't think we're going to see anything like that in this game either. It sounds like Air Force Gaming is kind of here to win. They seem to be talking a big game. You seem to be talking a big game, and I have high expectations here of Air Force Gaming with our current rating champion, Your Nightmares. I mean, if things go the way they have always gone, we will see an upset. And I mean, I don't want to say that there's a pattern here. Our favorites are Your Nightmares. We're familiar with them. We're friendly with them. But you know, it's if things go the way they've seemed to be going, Air Force Gaming has a pretty good shot just based on statistics alone.
Oh yeah, I'm very intrigued as well by this. I'm assuming this is the lock-in now for what we're seeing. That makes I mean, I was gonna say a lot of sense, but you know, still not quite that much. Tryndamere there in the jungle, the Darius in the top, Nico in that mid lane, and then Senna as the ADC with the support being Lux. How do you feel about that Lux support?
Actually, I main Lux, so I feel really good about it. Well, formerly. Now I'm doing Kindred, but in the past, Lux is a huge main for me, and I really think that she may be sometimes a little OP for support if you know what you're doing. I'm a big fan. Also with Senna's range as well, you've got a really solid combo down there. Maybe doesn't have an incredibly strong start, but that's okay because given time, they both have a very good mid. Especially a very good mid game. So mid game will be the one to watch here, I think. They can turn the tide, even if they don't do particularly well in the early game. We do like to see a very strong mid game Lux and a very strong mid game Senna.
And we will adjust the champion setup. Hey, look at that. Oh my god, production's so good. As I bring it up, they're already adjusting things just so we can get everything into perspective. That Lilia going to be in the top lane up against Darius, so they were able to counterpick that one in a sense. We kind of all thought the Tryndamere was going to be up there in response to that, but it is going to be a Tryndamere jungle, as we can see with the smite on either side. I mean, I've seen crazier comps for sure, but going up against your Nightmares, who are the victors of last week's tournament, taking home the most points and a pretty underhanded victory, to be honest, there at the end. It's a little risky going with such an unorthodox comp. At least, you know, that's what I take away from it.
Yeah, Senna has gone through a number of nerfs and is generally not seen as a super viable bot lane ADC pick as of late. Although people have been picking her because she's worth the investment later in the game, but an extremely weak start. When you think about weak starts, I'm talking like Kale level 1 weak start is where Senna's at. So the potential to be bullied is there, but they do have a little bit of safety, but not so much with Rakan on the case either. I mean, you can see they're already being chased out of lane and bullied, and zoning is one of the biggest problems for a bot lane. If you can't farm, you can't play, and we've got some early pressure coming in here from the jungle. Alpha male jungler just popping in to put on that pressure, zone them a little bit more, create a gold disparity. There's already a 300, 400 gold disparity now, and that's the kind of impact you can make on the game just by strolling through as a jungler and saying, hey, what's up? How's it going? I own this jungle.
It is good to see an early appearance, though sometimes a little bit risky in terms of making an appearance a little too early.
Absolutely.
You know, possibly setting yourself back maybe where you could be farming if you don't actually get a first blood or if you don't get an elimination of any sort going into that lane. Already, oh my god, no way! Solari's Revenge picking that one up, throwing down the Ignite flash on that engage. And even though that Tryndamere flashed away, the auto was already set in motion. So very quick first blood here, going over to your Nightmares to start things off.
Oh man, I don't want to pick favorites, but I told Solaris Revenge to keep that stuff on lock and be shiny, and gosh darn it, I love it when people do what I say. What a lovely beginning to this game. But you know, I've said this before, Jolly, I don't like to get first blood because I feel like my team gets lazy. And I'm not saying that your Nightmares are going to get lazy, but psychologically, you do feel like you have an edge. Maybe you don't play as well. Who knows?
Oh, it looks like they are going in on another one. They are feeling just fine and confident going into this fight. The Ignite already down on this mid laner, so they're not going to be able to follow this one up for another elimination, but a lot of damage being dealt over to the jungler one more time, and Captain G-Dog there in the mid lane. Solari's Revenge taking almost no damage in that fight as well. A flash expended there a little bit earlier on, so not too much lost.
Let's get a little replay on there. It looks like we've got Solaris Revenge gearing up. Already knows where the jungler is. He gave away his position. Solaris kept track of it. Tried to, oh shoot, that last bomb is actually really good looking, very stylish, terrifying when you as a jungler lose that kind of farm as well. Puts you back, it sets you back.
It does, it's an unfortunate feeling, especially being jumped on that quickly after as well by both the jungle and the mid laner immediately to follow it up. I mean, we're looking at only less than 5 minutes into this game, and this poor Tryndamere has been pounced on 2 times. One of them was very successful for your Nightmares. The second one, not as much, but they got exactly what they wanted to. The pressure in the mid lane was really what they were going for in the overall. And now they're already working on their first plate here in the mid lane tower. That's going to be a good chunk of gold going over to the pockets here of your Nightmares this early on in the game. That can spell a very scary story for Air Force later on.
Yeah, your Nightmares is known for their strong map presence and aggression, and it seems to be serving them very well. Like I said, I don't know. Do your Nightmares need a coach? Because I seem to have figured out the system here. You got that mid aggression and that strong map control, but it doesn't mean that they're too far ahead to not be mitigated. Of course, we're 5 minutes into the game, and the Air Force just needs to feel it out. They just need to know what your Nightmares are all about. They just need to get a feel for it. They're already, you know, coming down in bot lane, putting on a little bit of pressure here, just making your presence known. This bot lane does need to be protected by their jungler. They are an investment. This is not a lane that's going to start out strong. Everybody knows it, and their jungler knows it, and is going to act accordingly. And we've got Alpha Male Jungler up here in the top lane, going in for a gank with that Lilia. Very stylish. I like that. I like that little twirly thing that she does there. Okay, that's nice. But yeah, that just coming in again. Once again, jungling is not about getting kills. It's not about anything flashy. It's just about helping the flow of the lanes and putting on pressure. Got a bit of a skirmish here with Darius and Lilia. Lilia, very close call with that bleed going on there. Darius taking some risks there, seeing how aggressive the rest of the map is, and realizing that they have to step up their game.
Yeah, and a little bit of a bleed actually back and forth on these teams. We know that we get the hemorrhaging from the Darius, and then the passive as well on Lilia. Her abilities apply Dream Dust. So you've got, oh my goodness, she's going to go in the heal though. There's a pot that has been popped that definitely saved the life of St. Tom Aquinas there in the top lane. Feeling pretty good about escaping death on that, and a flash was expended by Sign Me Up, as well as the ultimate as soon as it became available there. So a couple big spells used up from Sign Me Up, and your Nightmares, while they are over 1,000 ahead in gold, that St. Tom Aquinas, who, that name's kind of sounded a little familiar to me, is able to really hold off against this Lilia. And once again, Solaria's Revenge is so aggressive, coming down below this Raptor pit, engaging behind the first tower. Absolutely absurd. And this time, it ended up working out very, very well, really pressuring back the rest of Air Force to avoid them encroaching on that dragon take that was pretty easy there for your Nightmares in the end.
Yeah, it sounds like the theme today. Zoning is the name of the game. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a lot of very heavy zoning. I mean, Solaris Revenge knew that that objective was coming up and that they needed to protect Alpha Male Jungler by cutting off Trindamir's only entry point. Very, very good communication on this team. Everybody's kind of coordinated to make sure that they can protect Alpha Male Jungler and make sure that they can make that difference on the map. It looks like there's a skirmish here in jungle, actually. You got a Lux there engaging with that E. Oh, and it looks like the disengage there. Really smart on Ben the Dominator's part, but it looks like we're gonna lose Speedy Speed Boy as a result of that, unfortunately.
Lorax on the Rock's gonna pick that one up, but we can actually see Ziggs, Solari's Revenge, making his way down to follow that one. Trindamir in the backline decided to disengage relatively early on after learning that Speedy Boy was going to go down. A good flash out there. Cataclysm has already been burned. Clorox on the Rocks is going to nail that pop-up, but no follow-up there as this Senna is just able to kind of drift away.
Yeah, that was an interesting play. So that's kind of it's an issue of map awareness, obviously. Having Hedgehog down there, knowing that their support had already gone down, still managed to get caught out by Alpha Male Jungler. Not an untenable mistake, nothing to worry about, but this sounds like that this team is just kind of getting their sea legs up. They're trying to communicate with each other, and they'll be more effective coming up here.
Drowsy going down onto the Darius there, barely staying alive once again. So still feeling pretty confident in this lane, able to survive at a very low amount of health, but so much damage coming out from Sign Me Up, and a pretty quick cooldown as well, I want to point out, on the ultimate there from Lilia. And Darius obviously not being able to have used his quite yet. He's getting engaged on really heavily, and so much pressure has been on this top tower here. We're looking close to the first plate as she continues to keep pressure up. And this Ziggs roam is just absurd. So far, that has been the craziest thing in the game for me to witness. The pressure that this Ziggs has been putting behind the first tower, as well as the roam down towards the bottom lane to help out when there are potential ganks. Or your Nightmare is even just going over to steal the red buff and then follow it up with a kill.
Yeah, I love that. I love that deep roam. I love that Solaris Revenge went in and actually warded chicken to make sure that they knew what Ben the Dominator was. That is demoralizing. Again, as a jungler, getting not only counter jungled, but absolutely wiped off the map. Very difficult. Also, we missed a fight here in mid with Ziggs and Nico.
No surprise.
Just a real rough trying to save herself by popping the ult there, but then they go out on each other. Hey, listen, if you're gonna go out, you're gonna go out together. Mutually assured destruction, my friend.
There you go. Ame's gonna pick up one down in the bottom lane here. We've got the Senna remaining. That Lux has gone down twice. This Tryndamere has fallen 3 times. Mostly thanks to that alpha male jungler. Was that last Cataclysm a flex? Was it necessary? We'll never really know. Another attempted engage here by Clorox on the rocks. He is going to be exhausted, barely staying alive in that one. A good little bit of healing is going to keep this Senna alive, and she's going to head into the curse of the Black Mist to survive as long as possible, but Solaris Revenge will find out that kill. That's 2 down in the bottom lane for these guys. And Air Force is really struggling at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. Your Nightmares now has all the objectives on lockdown. Implicit map control is really difficult to mitigate, especially when they're getting the objectives. Objectives generally win the game. That's not always the case, but for the most part, controlling the objectives will win you the game. Bot lane
what
here
a
got a
satchel charge! That was spectacular from Solari's Revenge to knock back that Lux and prevent her from escaping underneath that first tower. It still has not gone down, still has 3 plates up and available, and now your Nightmares is going to be able to set up for this upcoming dragon here. This Tryndamere pinging stuff out, trying to get his team to move down, but he really can't do much on his own at all, sitting at 0-3-0 and less than half of the creep score that Jarvan has.
Yeah, this is a late game team as well. You have to remember, Tryndamere doesn't really get his stride, Darius doesn't really get his stride, Lux, Senna. This is a very late game comp. So, I mean, if this game does go longer than 20 minutes, they do stand a chance. But as things are going right now, we are definitely there. Your Nightmares knows that there's a ticking time bomb, and they're doing their best to end this as quickly as possible. Don't blame them. That skirmish between the Lilia and the Darius, I love how close these calls are.
So early on the ultimate there.
Yeah, definitely. A little misuse, but I really like it because it's exciting. With Darius, sometimes he kills you even after he's already dead, so...
That, from the hemorrhaging and also the ability to regain health on that Q, makes him a much heavier engage than you would think. You think you've got him down below half health. Oh, I'm at full health. He can't come back from this. And as we just saw from that one little combo, he was able to get himself back up to at least Lilia's health there and make that fight fair. Clorox on the rocks is going to want to engage on this when he W's in, uses the ultimate there to get a multi-char, but in response, Captain G-Dog is going to throw down the ultimate, and down it goes. Clorox on the rocks. A great response there from Air Force, and a solid attempt from the Nightmares.
Yeah, I find it interesting that that Ben the Dominator is not using his sweeper to get that ward out of there. That would definitely uncomplicate this Dragon Dance. But as it stands, Solaris Revenge knows where they are. They think they don't know that they're being seen there, but they have all of these wards to make sure that they can lock this down.
The Cataclysm going down on Q members. He actually has to flash out of his own Cataclysm. Ben the Dominator now wanting to re-engage on this one. I swear I just saw the ultimate pop and he died as it came up. That was a little interesting there. Ame is going to poke a little bit more damage, and Solari's Revenge is going to help pressuring back Air Force so that Alpha Male Jungler can once again focus down this dragon on her own and take another one for the team.
Yeah, that is
and now another engage there. Clark's on the rocks, actually getting the blast cone of Speedy into the dragon pit. What a fantastic engage. Dude, this team, while we saw them play spectacularly last week, this is another level.
This is another level, and you know, it's not even, I mean, Air Force is doing fairly well. It's not like a full-on stomp. It's just Your Nightmares is really taking the opportunity here to finesse and make sure that they know that we know that they are not going to get lazy and they're not going to ride on those wins. They are absolutely taking every opportunity they can to make sure that they're not giving them anything. Nothing. There's not a single sloppy move here right now from your Nightmares. They really are making sure that they have full and total control of this map. And it's really interesting to watch how quickly that can spiral even for the best of teams.
And at a 7K goal differential here at only 14.5 minutes, that is actually massive. That is a huge bump. We saw at less than 10 minutes in about a 5K differential in favor of your Nightmares. And, you know, not just from the kills there, we can see how big of a spread the CS difference is between these teams. We've got bounties on 4 players' heads at the moment. This Tryndamere just trying to do whatever he can, but it's not even safe in his own jungle. And it's not as though it's just the enemy jungle that is interfering. Most of it has been Solari's Revenge with the constant roam, as well as maintaining this individual lane pressure here. So incredible play really from all of these guys. Like I said, and like you just mentioned there, Kari, it's not as though Air Force is playing poorly whatsoever. Your Nightmares is just approaching this game on a whole nother level, and they are blowing it out of the water.
Yeah, not to be biased, but these are the points that I touched on. You have to, your jungler has to have implicit control. The mid-roam, I honestly could not have predicted that.
Ooh, the Cataclysm again coming out. Just spectacular ultimates from everyone here. And that, unfortunately, is going to lead to a demised Darius there. He did burn both summoner spells, the Ghost and the Flash, towards the end of that. Really not much time to do anything, as we could not see the Jarvan in the wings there.
Yeah, I want to illustrate something here in bot lane. If you take a look at the farm disparity, extremely hard to recover from. If this lane is an investment property, the property is sitting on sand and the base is sinking into it. Really difficult to come back from that. It's not, again, this is a very late blooming team. There are chances here, but like you said, listen, we're casters, we're supposed to make this dynamic, but we cannot deny a now almost 11K gold lead.
3 towers, 2 to 11 in terms of kills. Both of those dragons going over to your Nightmares, as well as that Rift Herald that we saw earlier towards the top lane. So intense pushing towards the top lane and the mid lanes, and these guys know as well in the bottom lane it's almost a lost cause. The Nico ultimate coming out, going to do a lot of damage. The Ignite going down onto Clorox on the rocks. It won't be enough to pick up the elimination there, as the exhaust was thrown down onto that Nico earlier on. Another good fight. The Senna ultimate coming out, won't catch him, but hey, that Lux Orb certainly will.
Yeah, you do. You know, you love to see it. Like I said, that Lux had the opportunity to do a lot of good there, especially as a very strong starter, mid and end game support, and does actually stand as the MVP on this team with 2 kills. So definitely, even if the game feels like all is lost, a Lux does have a lot of utility, a lot of range to continue to try to make a difference and push as hard as they can. So again, these are all, it's a great late team comp. If they can make it, great. But we're looking, it's getting pretty dark here for Air Force. I don't know if they knew what they were getting into with now fan favorites, your Nightmares.
Oh, for sure. We'll be seeing a lot more of these guys if this game continues and if their future games continue in this direction. And we can see that is, you know, it is an ADC Senna. It is a support Lux, you can tell just based on the build. So while those kills going over to Lux is a great thing, that also means Senna's not going to be able to do anything later in this game. She needs to have that laning phase that goes relatively well. They got pushed back so hard, and even with the double stuns coming from that bottom lane on the side of Air Force, it was not enough to avoid the pressure that Ame and Clorox on the rocks have provided the whole game. And again, just a constant roam from the very start of this one, whether it was Clorox on the rocks or Solari's Revenge. It's just been too much. Dash arrow coming down. It's going to stun down Speedy Speedboy. And in comes the Cataclysm alpha male jungler going under tower. He's going to flash out one more time. The 6-mob coming out to pick up a double kill there. And the Ashe, oh no, a triple kill actually going over to Solari's Revenge. Sitting at 9-1-1. He is feeling quite good, or she is feeling quite good about this mid lane. Sorry, you're all females to me. I can't get it.
Yeah. I'm actually, beyond my wildest dreams, Solari's Revenge has managed to not only be there in mid and be very present, but also protect every single member of this team at some point in the game. That's the kind of mid-roam that you want on your team. That's the kind of mid-player who has implicit map awareness, that knows how to zone a jungler away from objectives during critical moments that you want, and that's really a great thing to see in Solaris here. And we've got Alpha Male Jungler back on that Ocean Drake, just locking down these objectives. As we had said before, you know, what we expected to see from your Nightmares was not giving the enemy team, despite how, you know, far ahead they are, despite how, you know, much fun they might be having, not giving the enemy team any window upon which to capitalize. And they are continuing to do that. Every single team fight has an objective reaction, which I think is a really solid way to be.
Sign me up, trying to go for a heavy engage there on the Tryndamere, you know, who's sitting at 0-5 and 1, way far behind. A really solid response, though, from Air Force immediately coming down. That was a required flash out there from Sign Me Up. Tried to avoid the final spark, was hit by it. Not a ton of damage, but still enough to send this top laner away. So good response, great communication here coming from Air Force, and that's what they need to continue to do here, as your Nightmares will continue to split push on these objectives or on these towers.
They're at the point in the game where they're gonna have to turtle for resources. So Air Force really can't make any sort of challenges or objective challenges. I mean, there's always the potential. The Baron exists specifically as an objective to be a tide turner in the game. If a team waits long enough, no matter how far behind they are in gold, they usually can get a hold of it. But it looks like instead of focusing on Baron, Sign Me Up is just goofily running around. It feels like Fantasia here, doesn't it? It feels a little Fantasia-y.
It was a good decision, though, there from Sign Me Up, specifically probably knowing that she was going to go down during that fight, just so that the rest of the team could focus on Baron Nashor and take it down. And the one thing as well in this instance is, if they are grouped up as a 5-man, Air Force cannot engage on that. Unless they get a pick under their own tower, they cannot do a Baron fight at the moment. So no matter what, your Nightmares kind of had that one as a freebie, but just to prevent anything coming through from the Air Force at the last minute, maybe an attempted steal on that Baron, Sign Me Up did a great job of aggressing on 3 members of the team and keeping them there down towards the bottom side. So feels good to get that elimination, but not quite good enough, especially as St. Tom Aquinas ends up getting jumped on here. The Cataclysm going to come out, followed by the Crystalline Arrow there from Ashe. A double lock, and Solari's Revenge is going to deal damage to pick that one up.
Gosh, even when they don't need to, they're still blocking these ults down. They're still making sure that they're not giving them any room at all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's just so rude. The Charm not able to do much. Ooh, and out comes another final spark there. It's going to do not as much damage as they were hoping for. The blue turret getting destroyed there in the top lane, and the inhib is going to be soon to follow here. We can still see Sign Me Up working on keeping pressure here down in this bottom lane, and at least distracting 1 or 2 of these members. At this point, Tryndamere probably should know, though, that you got to stay towards your own base at this point. The ultimate not coming out from the Tryndamere. No, it was already burned. The cooldown was gone there. Good attempt at staying alive with the heal there from Speedy Speed Boy, but he's not going to survive it now. Clorox on the rocks to Sign Me Up, trying to finish up St. Tom Aquinas, and they are going to pick that one up 22 minutes in, just over 22, and your Nightmares are going to pick up the first game of the night.
Wow, that was something to behold. For my first Lilia game, I have to say, I'm pretty happy. I love the goofy galloping distraction that Sign Me Up had there. Absolutely hilarious to watch, and the finesse involved as well. You're right. Proffering a distraction during Baron, it creates a really solid dynamic where your team can just take that objective and really feel safe doing so, knowing that they have vision on the enemy team because they're chasing this goofy deer lady around. Lamb? Deer? Horse? I'm not sure what she is. But either way, I don't know. I can't quite tell. But either way,
it's like
really
asking
fun
what
to watch.
Nico is. We don't really know. She's a Nico, you know. It's a Lilia. It's whatever we make it to be. Yes, and a lot of prowess coming through there, and a lot of that later game. We can see, I don't even think that Sign Me Up ended with a positive KD, but specifically because the second half, even the last 2/3 of that game, was specifically the Lilia just trying to distract everyone and keep them away from those big objectives and pressuring towards the base here. I believe we do have an updated bracket for you guys to view here, so we'll take a quick look at that. Hey, we got some familiar faces here. Gamer, Snails, and Limit Testers, as well as Sailor Scouts and Your Nightmares. So we have 3 more games to cast here tonight, these 2. And then the winner of either of these will move on to the finals for tonight's games Your Nightmares again being the winners here of last week, the second week, and Game Snails up there in that first bracket going up against Limit Testers. They were the victors of the first week here. So we may end up seeing a little bit of a tie break if it gets that far, depending on how Sailor Scouts and Limit Testers do. Sailor Scouts, though, that first week really showing a lot of prowess and getting all the way to the finals there, only to be taken down in the last minute.
Yeah, you know what? Sailor Scouts didn't get their chance to shine. I'm really excited to see how that goes again because I feel like they're hungry to make it into the finals this time. I really feel like Sailor Scouts, they want it really bad. Not, every team wants it really bad, but Sailor Scouts definitely did not get their due last week. And we have seen excellent plays, excellent gameplay from them. And we're starting to see the lines separating. We're starting to see those teams that we recognize back in these brackets every single week. And the joy of that for other teams is that you have plenty of VODs to study. You know who these people are now. And you can take a look and figure out what you're up against now. There's really no excuse at this point.
Oh no, we're going to see a lot more crazy games, hopefully a little bit longer, a little less one-sided coming up in the future. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back with you.
So I'm gonna hold on promoting you this quarter. Cool?
Drop the taco. Get in the car. Does this Sentra feel like a compromise to you?
Wait, what?
The handling, it's good, right? No compromise there.
Nope. Watch this.
Come on, breathe. Rear automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra isn't going to compromise, why should you? You're right. Atta girl.
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class.
I never thought I'd feel this way.
No, don't hold on to me.
It's all worth it.
Ladies, Chris,
I hear that's really bad for you.
What? No, this is about finding true love.
No, I mean the screen.
Oh, no, we're all good there. These Zenny lenses, they block the blue light.
I mean, that's still really bad for you.
This is amazing. Please go away.
Chelsea.
Oh, no, don't pick her. Oh.
It's not just the ships, the armor, or the aircraft. It's something more. It's the will to fight and determination to win, found inside each and every Marine that answers a nation's call. Battles won.
Honesty.
Hey, we are back. Thank you guys for tuning in here today. It is week 3 of the Supergirl Gamer Pro tournament that we've got going on. It will continue for the next 6 weeks as well. We're going to be hopping in to the next game. We're going to have a couple minutes before that, though, to discuss what happened in those games on the other side while we were not watching. Looks like, I don't have the team names here, but it looks like Ama and Noisy on the side. Oop, let's pull this up. I've got so many brackets going at the same time.
Oh, you're fine. Noisy's actually, that's Gamer Snails that we've got there. Ghosty, that looks like a new, let's see here. Who are they replacing there? Oh no, Noisy has done a lane swap. So Noisy is the jungler and has switched with Ghosty, who is a name that we have not seen prior. It looks like they have replaced our beloved Zirian with their beautiful Volibear game. Listen, best not to get too attached to players, but that seems to be the roster swap there. Otherwise, we do have Kaori, Lustfully, and Hanabi in that game. And then I'm not sure what the other team's name is here.
Let me take a quick look, because I've got, oh, come on. You don't remember Prothean from Sailor Scouts there? We got Prothean, Goldflower, Pan, Lilac Soul, and Neki Lime. These guys have been tearing things up. And actually, in the last game, we can see that they won with a composition of a Shen, a Kayn, a Syndra, an Ashe, and then a Nami. So that Ashe-Nami duo we were kind of talking about a little bit that has worked well for some of these teams in the past. And then on the side of Gamer Snails, they ended up going with a Wukong on, as you mentioned, Noisy, who was previously in the jungle position. And they did have Zerion in the top. Noisy has jumped up to the top lane there. Ghosty ended up going with the Warwick and going 7-0-7. Keep that in mind, guys. Kaori on the Galio, Lustfully on the Misfortune, and Hanabi there on the Lulu. So we may see another Lulu, as we saw, I think, every single game of last week. So the two main guys to look at least on the sides of Gamer Snails, mostly this Wukong. And Wukong went 11-0-6, guys. And then Ghosty on this Warwick, who is new to this roster, went 7-0-7. On the other side, then, they changed things. They removed one. Something happened. I lost part of my games here, part of the bracket we were just looking at. So there's at least the stats of what we were seeing on the side of Gamer Snails, which has been a team that we have seen from the very first week on this one. And the other guys, hey, cool. We also got that updated bracket here that we can always flash back to you guys. We'll give you that in between each game as well, so you can see how things are moving on. At this point, though, we're going to be casting the next games, so it's a little less important for you to see that bracket, as we'll be witnessing the games themselves and the updates of the bracket happening in real time there. Okay, based on that last game, I know we're going to be seeing, two different teams right now. I believe we're going into Gamer Snails and Limit Testers for this next one. So we're going to take a break from the Your Nightmare's nightmare that we just experienced a moment ago. Do you expect to see more Lilia here? So far, I'm not seeing it, at least in these other games that have been played. Nobody's venturing into that, but it seemed to work incredibly well for Your Nightmares. How are you feeling about her?
I'm feeling great, actually, having really enjoyed the gameplay. I mean, I did read, like I said, the moveset, so I can understand in application how it works. Actually seeing it, though, honestly, the dough bunny hop, jokey joke, I just hear yakety sax playing in my head with running around in circles, distracting the team. I really enjoy her gameplay style. I'm really excited to see. I was surprised that that's the patch we decided to go with, but let's be honest, that's the most exciting patch to watch right now. And that's what we're here for. We want to see exciting games. We want to see adaptable, dynamic teams. And knowing that Sign Me Up was probably scrimming and practicing with Lilia last week, it shows that adaptability. It shows that kind of like a winning team sort of mindset there by picking up that new champ who's less than a week old. So,
and it is kind of difficult to integrate newer champions. They tend to be a little overpowered when they first come out, yes, but Lilia more particularly actually is a little bit easier to counter and is more selected in counter picking. And so going into a Lilia early on might not be the best opportunity, or if you have somebody that you have to counter pick against and it is not someone that Lilia would really perform well against, it's not so much of a, when Set came out, when Nico came out, when a lot of these champions came out, they were so unbearably broken, you could run them into anything. You could first pick these champions and then hope that the other team could find something that they play well enough or have a niche in against certain opponents, certain champions that they can do well against. Lilia is a little bit more of a niche character herself. And so to see it picked up that quickly early on, Your Nightmare's clearly having a lot of confidence. It was justified, if you ask me. These next teams, we don't know. We do see scores and whatnot, but we don't know how the game necessarily played out, whether it was a bit of a recovery. I kind of, going over at least the scores of the Gamer Snails game, we know that they kind of slaughtered in a lot of that. And the fact that the bracket updates as well to a point where we are not really having to wait for an update on that means that these were also shorter games, because this is the shortest game that we just witnessed coming through from the last 2 weeks as well included. So quite a few stomps I'm expecting based on these compositions and whatnot, but not a ton of changes on the teams that we're kind of used to, the Sailor Scouts, the Limit Testers, things of that nature. Limit Testers, though, we did see quite a bit of, and I because we swapped away from, because I can't see their post-game, the victory bracket at the end there, I'm not able to see if there are any roster changes based on what we've had in the past. We've had some crazy compositions. We've had, the Volibear and the Jarvan, the Wukong and the Zac, Ori, Ari, Jin, Ezreal, Lulu, Karma, literally 2 games from last week that ended up being completely different compositions, really going with something crazy. So do you think we'll see something new from them, or do you think we've gotten to the point where they're kind of hitting their stride and they're going to run with what they're really comfortable with now that they know the opposing teams a bit more?
We're talking about Limit Testers, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. You were very clear. Man, there's so much information incoming too about these other games that were played while we were watching the last one. And so lots and lots of information, lots of new teams, but our reigning champions are all starting to come out. They're the ones who are making it to the semifinal here. And as far as limit testers go, that was a very close last game. Again, we stopped with the 100 gold differential, and your nightmares were the ones who were able to take advantage of that. I don't think limit testers, generally, from watching a lot of pro play and all of that, teams who lose make a very strong comeback, especially when they have their first loss and then their next preceding game. They always come back vengeful, really ready to make something happen. So I think that potentially the Gamer Snail should be a little worried to go to this champ select, actually.
Yeah, and we did see, like you mentioned, that 100 gold difference game we'd witnessed previously. We're going to hop now into this pick ban so we can get a good idea of at least what they're attempting to go in with. Most of the teams that we have been seeing, though, and the teams that have been incredibly successful, have been really heavy engagers, a little bit earlier team composition, maybe one or two of these scalers, but still starting heavy-ish damage in terms of that. So likely going to stick with those bursty compositions. I loved seeing the Rakan. That would be something potentially they could pick up. Limit testers, though, in the past have gone with a lot of the AP caster style, and we've actually seen a lot more of that in general, a lot less of the tanky engagers. Again, I'm going to bring up my Braum. I love Braum. This is the supportiest support that is available and out there. But it has been working really well on these heavy engage, heavy pushing compositions. And I'm curious as well to see if anybody is going to take up the same methods that we just saw there from Solari's Revenge of the really easy push, early damage, pretty consistent early damage, maybe falling off a little bit later on, but the heavy push, heavy roam from your nightmares. Limit testers just went up against them last week, so they have a little more understanding of the team, but we saw something completely different from those guys. So for all we know, these teams are going to play in a completely different manner as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Again, I can't overstate how excited I am because we have seen some very innovative gameplay. That Solaris zone was really interesting to me, and I'm interested to see if we'll see more of that aggressive zoning, more of that control, because control is the name of the game, right? That seems to be the kind of games that we're playing, is very map control heavy, as is evidenced by these bans. These are all junglers, like very, very heavy, well-known junglers. Graves has been dominating the map. Olaf is an old favorite. And of course, Warwick, an additional old favorite.
That's a respect ban right there, too, because Ghosty, who is new to this tournament now, at least, for us, has just picked up the Warwick, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I said it was a 7-0-7 run with that Warwick. So that's definitely a respect ban. That's got to feel good for Ghosty, but at the same time, if that is his pocket pick, if that is really the most comfortable pick that he's got going into this, might be a little bit scary having that banned out right off the bat.
Yeah, oof. Like that is, did they watch the last game? I don't know. I don't know what kind of, what these players are privy to, but the game Mercenail, or the limit testers taking that away from the game Mercenails is really interesting. Again, this is like very top focused. We do have an Ari mid there from Dopamine, and that's all well and good to take that away because Dopamine was limit testers, very highly praised mid. They were the MVP in the last game. They ended with the second best KDA, but also did that same map control game that we saw in the last one. Dopamine is definitely very good about map awareness, and I think the greatest gift you can give to a team, other than those really well-controlled bot lanes that don't feed and really stay secure, is a mid lane that is keeping an eye out for the rest of the team because they have access to both sides of the map. So
we'll see what they decide to do with that. Yeah, heavy engagers. No big surprise. Ashe is going to be the first pickup, and a solid one. She's got at least enough range. No real disengage, but not a horrible first pick. Not as easily counterable as somebody like the Vayne. Somebody that doesn't have quite as basic of a skill set there. I am interested actually in the Shyvana ban as well. I don't believe we've seen a Shyvana pop up at all from Game Mercenails, but again, we haven't seen the first, the earlier fights going on through these games. I'm interested to see something crazy as well. There's a Lulu pickup, so they want to prevent that Ashe Lulu from going through. But as I mentioned before, the Ashe Nami has been a pretty favorite from these teams as well.
Both ADCs on these sides here, both they're generally picking Jhin, so I'm pleased to see this Ashe pick. But again, the Ashe and Lulu being separated, but you do have an Ezreal there. That's a pretty solid pick with a Lulu. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it is. And I feel like I just keep having the same feelings of Lulu. I love her. Feel like she's a little underpowered and kind of falls off later game. The big thing's the utility, the polymorph that she has to offer, and then the growth on her ultimate there is super helpful. Generally not used on someone like the Ezreal because he's not engaging in the middle of everyone. You try to get the pop-up as a big part of that engage. So maybe some early roam coming from these guys, as well as an expectation to have early push and early move to 5-man fights or moving to the mid lane, getting to that team fight point in the game. I do love me some Echo, though. I will say that. So much burst. As we're speaking of burst damage, he's like the king of burst. And also escapability as well. He can jump in and out, deal a ton of damage, and then just run on back to where he wants.
Yeah, super good control too. Echo is a solid pick for a team that really wants to maintain control. And then you've got the Queen of CC as well, Janna there. So it sounds like Gamer Snails, I don't know if this is, I wouldn't say this is a safe team, but I would definitely say that this is a team that wants to maintain control, wants to keep the map locked down, wants to make sure that they know where their map awareness is at all times. I don't think Gamer Snails is necessarily looking to stomp. I think Gamer Snails is looking to lock it down, but we'll see what the preceding picks are. We love Alessandra. That's a really solid CC pick as well. Very reliable, absolutely can compete with Echo. And if that was a counter pick, it was a great one.
And also keep in mind, as I just now am browsing the Limit Testers roster over here, we've got Dang Doi, my EU, Luckman of the Jungle, so that's going to be a new one. Was Husky Templar beforehand, did a great job. Actually was my marked MVP once or twice here, but it looks like they've got somebody else in there, unless they changed their name and they're just messing with me. Dopamine in the mid lane, Elise is the ADC, and Pistachio as the support there.
Yeah, you love to see it. I think that Limit Testers, they had a really rough game in that last one there against your Nightmares, and even though Husky Templar did perform incredibly well up until that point, they did go 0-6-12, which means that they were rushing to help their teammates, trying to be there in every team fight. In my opinion, still an MVP, especially when you have that many assists as a jungler. It means you're doing everything you can to stop the hemorrhaging, but ultimately Limit Testers did end up losing that game.
Well, we'll see how things go, especially in terms of the the blue side, red side here. Already starting off to a red side win in that first game. Your Nightmares, first time we've seen them on red side, and they make it a victory as well. Maybe that's their secret weapon, I suppose. It really doesn't impact the game that much. I bring it up multiple times just because it occasionally does in terms of objectives, and also early game rushing. If you are trying to invade early on, depending on which side that you want to go through, you have more opportunity on the blue side to invade on that bottom river side, and then vice versa with the red side there. A lot of push, though, and a lot of burst damage from the Limit Testers as well, and we know that they are familiar with that and like to play with those heavy bursty teams. I'm interested to see what they do with the jungle here, because we've seen so many changes. The Jarvan was a pretty solid pick for them. That was where my MVP came through for Husky Templar as of last week, and they actually banned it out here on themselves. The Mundo, the Vladimir, Daria is going to be the ones to round that out on Gamer Snails and Limit Testers there. Neither jungle has been selected here, and I feel like they're almost waiting for a bit of a counter engage, and yeah, they're actually going to select Galio here for Gamer Snails. So a wicked bursty, high mobility and aggression on those two, the Echo and the Galio. But a little more opportunity, to counter here from Limit Testers, and they're locking in the bear.
Yeah, we like the bear, we like the furry boy. I'm actually a big fan of these comps because look, they've picked all of these things in unison here. The Galio and the Volibear, these tank picks are really, really solid. And we're going to see some really I think we're going to see a really exciting close game here just because based on these picks, they're all trying the same strategy. The bans also kind of belie a game that they want to have go on a little bit longer. We might see something a little bit closer here. because it does seem that survivability has become a priority for both of these teams. They are both clearly making sure that they can peel, they can protect, so that their ADCs can attack. Did you just have a heart attack, Jolly?
No, I didn't.
Me?
I just said,
are you still here?
they're gonna do me like that. All right, all right.
You dirty, my friend.
Okay, so I'm saying this has got to be a Galio mid lane, and I'm assuming that's going to be an Echo jungle from what we're getting from Gamer Snails. Great engage ability from the Echo there. Normally, you know, we're seeing him in the mid, occasionally the top lane. He does appear in the jungle every so often, and up against a Mordekaiser as the final selection there. So some actual flexy picks, which I love to see flex picks. That is one of my biggest favorites in terms of the mind games on the composition going through there, and that looks like that's going to be the final setup. Oh, sorry. Volibear jungle, which we have been seeing a lot less of since his rework. Pre-rework is mainly strictly jungle if we saw him at least in higher elos, which you rarely did just because of his utility later on in the game, or even early on. That Lissandra we've seen on Cowrie a couple of times just do obscene amounts of damage, so it'll be interesting also to see the Galio, who we've also seen on Cowrie, going into the champion that she has done incredibly well on here in the past. And limit testers with Luckman as well. Now I'm intrigued to see why that change came through. As I mentioned before, we already had Husky Templar doing a great job there as those heavy engagers in that jungle lane. So it is possible it is just a name change there, or, you know, deciding to swap out for someone who just fits the compositions better.
Yeah, absolutely. Subs are a thing too. You never know. Husky Templar could have stubbed their toe and they couldn't make it to the game. We would, obviously that kind of context is we're not privy to, but as these games pick up, we probably will get to know these players more and more, potentially be able to observe how they make it to the games and how they don't. But you love to see a very strong engage comp on the Gamer Snail side. Everybody seems to have a really strong engage here, but I really think, let me know if you agree here, Gamer Snails has the kind of engage that can stun lock limit testers if they don't stay positioned in the correct way. That could be a certain death. It's a scary, sticky comp. You don't want to do a single corridor fight. Not a single corridor fight should ever happen against Gamer Snails here. That's something to watch out for, because if they get the classic wombo combo, you get an Ashe, you get a Janna, they push you into something. There's just so many fun combinations here that I'm really excited for, because it can get messy, and it can also be pulled off with such finesse, and we have high expectations of the Gamer Snails when it comes to a comp like that. Limit Testers is not lacking in any sort of fun and fortitude, though. I mean, Dang Doi Mew, if they specifically use their ult in strategic ways, they can cripple certain portions of the Gamer Snails wombos. They can certainly, if they pay attention to which ults are up when, they can pick them off and make sure strategically that the real threats are taken out of the game, at least for a moment, or at least locked down, so that their teammates can make sure to secure these kills. Positioning with Mordekaiser's ult is actually really interesting and fun and strategic, so I'll be really interested to see if there are some fun plays there, especially at this level of play. We've seen so much finesse from limit testers, and I would love to see that trend continue.
And I want to see from this game, I want to see the Scion train in, and then I want to see him get pulled into the realm before impact is able to occur from the Mordekaiser there, you know, on some of these. There's a lot of opportunity to counter, actually, in these, the Mordekaiser being the last pick up there on the side of limit testers. So potentially specifically to try to disengage that Scion if he does attempt to snowball himself into the fights here. But, I mean, you talked about, Gamer Snails having maybe a little bit of an edge in terms of getting, you know, some bursty damage in. Also considering the fact that there is at least a decent amount of mobility on the side of limit testers in that bottom lane, means that they might be a little bit safer than you would consider. They've got the Ezreal who's able to shift out. They've got the Whimsy from the Lulu as well to increase the movement speed. If it's necessary, throw a little shield on there, a little bit of the slow. So you've got some retaliation coming from these guys. Wait, why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. I forgot about Lulu's ult. It's absolutely absurd. Like you were saying, it'll be like a volleyball game with Scion. Like he comes in, it's either Mordekaiser or Lulu. Somebody's got to catch that ball. It's like volleyball here, and like the scenario that you're bringing up is absolutely comical. And I'm very excited to see. There's a lot of fun in this comp here. I'm really excited to see just like some fun innovative things, but the Scion volleyball. Let's keep an eye out for that one, my friend.
Oh yeah, yeah. Being able to polymorph him as he's running through, and there's a lot of decent timing that would need to happen here. Even with the Mordekaiser, pulling somebody into the realm of death, being able to do that on that insane movement speed engage there from the Scion. But then you've got the Echo to follow it up. So even if something does happen where he's pulled out, you're pulling away a lot of the front line from the Mordekaiser, for instance, if he has to pull somebody into the realm of death. You've got so much burst potential coming through. And then also the CC that they're able to kind of layer down, whether it's the Crystalline Arrow or even that W shot to get a little bit of a slowdown, or the Whirlwind coming from the Janna, even the pop back from the ultimate there. There's so much potential to either engage, disengage. These team compositions I love. This is where the game gets really intense, especially when these players I don't believe actually these guys have played against each other, even though we've seen both of them get so far into the brackets and develop throughout the brackets throughout these last couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see these two specifically come across each other, especially after an insane draft like that. Nothing too crazy like what happened last game, apparently. We're only a couple seconds in, but you know how things could be when your nightmares are involved. Gamer Snails Limit Testers not going to test any limits just yet. Not yet, though.
No, we're definitely, we're just kind of sniffing each other out. They both know that an invade at this point, it would be silly, it would be difficult. The chances of catching some meaty tank and blowing a bunch of stuff, neither of these teams want to do it. We're doing a classic River Guard, which I have not seen a lot recently or lately at all. I don't think we've seen it at all in this game, honestly. Usually these teams are sticking together, they're invading, they're doing something else, but, I love this sort of like classic, stare at each other from across the river longingly. A little bit of action.
The emote to respond there from Noisy. He's like, "Hey, missed me." That's you get no okay from my Rammus here. A little bit of back and forth, not quite enough time here now for Dang to actually recall successfully. So it was a really good response there from Noisy. And you know what? It seems like that emote was a little bit justified in this one, as he's going to put Dang down and force him to use up a pot here before things start up.
Yeah, Romance is in the air on the top lane. They just want to hang out. They just want to be friends. And they're looking to play. They really want to get some action up there, and that's kind of what we've seen here. A lot of blows getting exchanged in the early top lane, sometimes mid, but mostly top action. They get pretty spicy pretty quickly, just to kind of feel each other out especially. It seems very much like the bot lane isn't interested in sizing each other up so much this early on. They just want to farm and keep it together. No real exchanges so far, but the top lane definitely, they're sniffing at each other. They're just kind of seeing what they're looking at here. And we don't have any vertical jungling, we don't have any invading. This is a very serene start, and it looks like both teams kind of have the same, again, these crazy CC comps. I'm so excited to see how this happens because they both are playing it very safe, although we do have Luckman. Yeah, our new player here.
Right. He is going to get popped up there and stunned down from Noisy. We'll see he's able to get the stun off in response there, but not quite enough damage to push him back. I think they can kind of acknowledge that going into that one. Noisy recognizing that Volibear was there pretty early on. No vision, but he's actually going to stay in place to try to go for another engage, and the flash in. The flash out, though, means that he will survive that one just fine. A flash for his flash seems okay with me. Luckman spent a little bit of extra time there trying to pressure this top lane in. Really didn't gain anything from that and is now going to fall a little bit behind early on.
Yeah, Noisy, the former jungler of Gamer Snails, is now in the top lane. So that map awareness is relatively good, and keeping it cool even though you know that their jungler is there. Choosing to stay in that bush so you can get that knock up for some extra time to run out. Very good finesse, great map awareness, just keeping it together. That second engage kind of almost got Noisy.
We got some pings coming through the mid lane, though, as the Volibear is going to make his way through. The Galio is going to instantly flash out. That's several flashes at least for Luckman here, who's poking his face, poking his maw, I suppose, into these lanes relatively early on. Echo also has very early clear and is able to engage pretty quickly on, so maybe the Volibear recognizing that, trying to do a little bit of a response proxy before that Echo is able to consistently move around and engage with the extra mobility that he gains as well. But he's going to do some solid clears early on, needs a couple, needs an item or two or at least one recall to really do what he wants to without being too vulnerable in these situations. So good response plays as well from this team.
Yeah, I love seeing the for every team fight, for every gank, there is a reaction. And it looks like the name of the game is just this nice ebb and flow where, you know, there's a gank, there's a kill, well, no kills yet, but I can guarantee when the kills start coming in, there will be adverse reactions. If somebody gets a kill in top lane, we'll likely see some action in another part of the map, if not on that same portion. They're doing a really good job of these, like, quote-unquote mirror matches, really keeping track of who your quote-unquote partner is in the game, making sure that you know where they are at all times. And I mean, stay assured here that these junglers do know where the other is at any given time, because that is definitely a part of the jungler role, is making sure that you know where your lane partner is in that. And watching the top lane here, Noisy is here for some aggression, and you would think that they would not want to push that lane in so far with Luckman clearly out for blood, but not interested in getting a gank there. Noisy's doing a recall. And we've got Kaori putting some vision in there, but immediately gets taken down by Luckman. That was something we didn't necessarily see from Air Force in the last game, but that is an essential thing to making sure that you as a jungler can move around the map without being controlled by the other team. Great sweeper on the side of Luckman. Really important to clear those wards. You never want to leave one up carelessly. If you see it go down, always take it out, no, by any means possible.
Right, yeah, not just the vision, but the counter vision, both massive parts of the game here. And yeah, you mentioned the Noisy kind of going in for a little bit of a push, I think acknowledging that Volibear had to go back at that point, or maybe recognizing the recall there. Definitely some vision towards that top side will be helpful, but in the meantime, we got 3 members of Limit Testers here going in on this Mountain Dragon. That's going to help them get some plates early on before they end up going down at minute 14 here. Volibear picking that one up. Hey, little Volibear emote coming out from that one to give Luckman a little bit of extra luck there. And now Ghosty just trying to maybe scout out some vision, but nothing to place down at this point right now. Eventually getting engaged on, though, as a response does come through from Dang. The ultimate did come out, taken to the realm. He's going to flash over last second, but the immediately flash in response from Dang is going to go first blood over the Limit Testers. Luckman now going to be the next one to go down as Noisy takes him down, but Dang is in potentially a scary situation. Hero's entrance coming through. Dang finds himself another elimination. Noisy now backing out from this one.
Wow,
and
what a
good
trade!
call on that.
Yeah, very evenly matched trade. You love to see it. Sometimes you have to go back and recover resources, but you lose some in the chase. Definitely nice to see Noisy deciding to take it easy and make sure that they know that he has that regen and they shouldn't be messing with it without the same or equal amount of lifesteal involved. Noisy is definitely making the right sort of strategic plays, while Dang is becoming a bit of a lane bully.
He is. And spectacular in that last fight as well, pushing away the 2v1, you know, a 1-0-1 Scion feels good, but on the other end, you've got the Mordekaiser there for Dang at 2-0-0, so picking up the double kill felt pretty good on that one. He's going to try to pull through Ghosty, but he does have that fancy dash. He's going to be able to escape. That means Limit Testers are going to snag this blue away from Game Snails, though, and Echo is sent relegated down to the bottom side of his map.
Even those little objectives can kind of put a jungler back, so Limit Testers making sure that when they lose resources, when they lose a fight, or when they've managed to push Noisy back, that they make some sort of retaliation involved. And just grabbing that little objective there. Blue is vitally important to continuing a jungler's cadence, so taking that definitely interrupts. He may not be aware of it, doesn't seem like he is quite yet, but they do have that deep vision ward here.
There's
allowing
a
them to
flash
control
out
top.
that one as well from Noisy, who is very, very low. Oh my goodness, that was gonna be enough. Dang, going down to 2 tower shots. Noisy gonna survive that one with a fancy flash out away from Luckman, who flashed in on that engage. Now Luckman is gonna try to keep some pressure in this lane, make up for his lost mate there. Luckman instantly gonna turn onto Noisy, and no response capable from Noisy, but the little extra speed that he needed possibly there from the passive that is going to prevent him from losing his life right now.
That deep vision ward.
Speaking of which, though, Dang has decided that he wants to pick something up from that one. Now the passive coming out from Noisy is not going to be enough. He's going to get taken down before any response comes through here.
It must feel good, even if you do die, to have a bit of revenge. But we do have Galio coming in here. trying to keep up, even though they have the deep vision with limit testers. Gamer Snails want to retaliate. They want to make sure that their fallen comrade is avenged, and unfortunately, that is not what happens. Galio goes down. Dang and Luckman have some very implicit control and a very concerning, very deep vision in the enemy jungle. Definitely something to keep an eye on there. Again, being able to have that deep vision there allowed them to prepare for threats that were incoming and make sure they could mitigate them and share the aggro.
Pain Train coming in is not going to equate to really much. The vision break now being played here by Dang. As he continues to engage, he knows the Luckman is here in the wings. If he can continue to keep Noisy engaged in this fight, they will be able to get the stun off on him, and they find the elimination as well. That passive's not going to be able to do enough in this situation. So much pressure now coming from the testers here in the top lane. That's going to give him a pretty solid kill advantage.
Yeah, wow, gosh. Don't you know, Sion? You can't get away from that. You just used your ult. That was a little bit discouraging to see that, but definitely a vengeful move. Oof, you hate to see that Ash arrow miss, don't you?
Yeah, just barely too, and such a pretty crystalline arrow as well at that. The constellation coming through, just barely going between the two members, the Lulu and the Ezreal there, who are doing a great job of keeping pressure on this lane here, keeping some vision up towards the top side of their jungle. We'll see if Echo will decide to make his way down, especially with this dragon going to emerge here soon. In the meantime, though, Luckman has found himself a Rift Arrow without any contest. He's going to pick up Shelly, throw her in his pocket, throw her in her pocket, I suppose. Everyone's got female pockets now at this point.
Everyone's got female pockets.
Really good. Also, some really good defensive vision. As we can see, there's the vision ward there on their own, red side here at the top. So, just in anticipation of potential invades coming from this Echo as he gets a few items and is able to engage. But he is falling a little bit behind here in CS as this Volibear has just so much prowess across the entire map.
Yeah, very satisfying to watch that sort of nice, subtle defensive ward there, because Echo does often like to jump out of that out of that Shelly pit and steal your red. It's a very super common move among Echo players, and that's a really nice way to mitigate something that's actually very specific to that champion. And a really nice strategic move from them as well. We've still got something going on in this top lane. Noisy and Dang are really putting the pressure on each other. And Noisy, despite all of his efforts, has fallen quite a bit behind, but not in any sort of way that can't be made up here. The bot lane, though, is so close.
And the ping's coming through. This Echo is currently on this dragon. The ping just came through from the Volibear that he's making his way down to the bottom lane, but in turn, he's actually going to retaliate there and go for the dragon. Blue team is going to manage to take that one. The hero's entrance coming through from Cowrie there. He's going to get stunned down immediately, though, and he has used his dash, so he's not going to be able to escape from that fight. Another one going to limit testers.
Yeah, definitely would have liked to see it engage from Ghosty. Maybe that would have turned out differently, but ultimately they decided they could not manage to turn the tide of that dragon engage. I mean, they did get the dragon, they got the resources. Why greedily go for other kills anyway? But, you know, the best laid plans. That Galio does have the power to usually carry those 2v1s, especially later in the game, so a very interesting choice. You got the Shelly here in mid lane, just trying to free their mid laners from their torment so that they can do some roaming, because the mid game has been relatively close, and they both have had a lot of map awareness, trying to be there for their team, as is evidenced with Galio engaging with that dragon on the Gamer Snail side.
A little risky, though. Oh, we're actually going to watch a replay of that fight.
Yeah, you love to see it, that Echo just gets out of there, but although there is map awareness coming from the Galio, it's not soon enough. The Lissandra meets him there despite him using his ult to engage, and it looks strong. There's almost enough damage, but Ghosty seems to be a little more cautious, decides not to go there.
Everything to actually take that dragon and escape from it, so all cooldowns really, he was waiting on all cooldowns, and at that point, I feel like there was maybe that communication of, I'm coming in with Hero's Entrance, and Echo's like, wait, actually, we don't need it, you know, and not much you can do to escape from that one at that point with Flash being down on the Galio, and now Galio's in a scary situation, not only sitting at 1-3-1, but falling very far behind in CS because he's been out of lane so frequently, whereas Dopamini has just been able to kind of sit back, farm pressure where needed, and then has actually the help from Luckman coming through, doing a lot of damage onto that opposing tower as well. Now that those plates are down, it's not going to be as heavy focus of getting, the extra gold from that. That means we're going to see a lot more aggression on the individuals themselves, I believe, as opposed to just some solid pushes to get damage down on those towers.
Yeah, everybody wants to see the end of the lane phase now. That's going to be the name of the game, is trying to affect the flow of each lane and make sure that you can get those pushed in. Of course, objectives are also going to be an extremely important part, but that's when the fights should be happening, is based around these objectives. Senseless team fights, unless you're trying to get a gank off like we have in the bot lane here. We have both junglers in bot lane. Not sure if Luckman is aware that Ghost C is there. What do you think about that? Do you think he knows? Oh, he does.
Oh, no. I don't think he actually spotted him out. I think he was going for an engage. I think Ghost T was waiting for that engage to actually go through. Hence also the ward that was placed down there to ensure the Volibear either disengaged from that or continued in on the fight, trying to circle around. He's going to go down and do actually what that Echo was doing just a moment ago, and now he has spotted the Echo out and is able to engage on this backline. We'll see if Pistachio and Elise are able to jump in quickly enough. He's got to disengage, though, because he realizes the Gay Mercenaries are much closer to him than the rest of his team was to him. And we're going to see if Galio can escape from this fight as Volibear begins to ping out, hey, we got a lone Galio on this side, just not quite enough to catch up to him, as they are both quite mobile champions.
That bear just going through the woods, really trying to find some in. Didn't realize that there was such a presence from Gay Mercenaries on that side of the map, realized it very quickly, and decided to cut his losses. You don't always have to go in for a gank, even if you have spent 60 some odd seconds sniffing it out, even if you have lost a lot of farm and resources, you still don't have to double down on that sunk cost fallacy. You can say no, and you can leave, and I think that the difference between a good player and a great player is knowing when to cut your losses and back out. Put your pride on the shelf, and make sure that you make good calls. So our bot lane is definitely heating up here. I'm really interested in how long Ghosty has been in that bot lane, just waiting for some sort of waiting for Luckman to get bored and leave. I think anybody would be surprised to find out that he's still in that lane on bot. So if he gets off a successful gank, can you really blame Elise and Pistachio for not seeing it coming?
Oh, that was a flash away, actually. A flash and a shift, if I'm not mistaken. A great whirlwind, though, is going to pop up Dang the second that he teleports in. Now, at that much time being spent in, we watched the Volibear walk up with the Galio. We watched the Volibear disengage from that bottom lane completely. And at that point, you got the Echo Ghosty just really waiting and did end up wasting quite a bit of time. Yes, it is better to wait and go in on an engage where, if you know you've already wasted some time and money by sitting at that, by sitting in that bush. If you cannot know that that team is going to go in too far, or know that the bottom lane is going to pressure themselves to where you can get in without being spotted out, that's when you stay. But at that point, I wasn't really certain. It was kind of just a question of, will I be able to get the engage here, or am I really just wasting more time? So knowing when to cut your losses as well, as just being able to make the deciding factor of, yes, I can cut my losses, and recognizing, okay, I have spent a little too much time here. Even if I do get a kill, is it going to be worth it? Is a big question that you have to consider in those instances. And I don't think it really was for him there.
Yeah, jungler's mental is really important, and it seems like Ghost team may not be making the right decisions here just based on a couple of discouraging plays, seeing how well Luckman is doing. There's a bit of a skirmish going on over Shelly here. Ghost T is really kind of focusing on that Shelly, but decides to turn their attention to Dang, but unfortunately becomes fodder there. Dang still is not, I don't think he's used his ult, I don't see it on cooldown. So we're just kind of waiting to see. Oh no, it is on cooldown.
Yeah, it was. So it was used, I think, towards the beginning of that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, on to the Noisy, who decided that was a good time to disengage. Luckman is now going to be able to continue on and push that up as he moves forward to potentially help out Dang in that instance. I'm pretty sure he quickly acknowledged that Dang was just fine, and Noisy is the one who actually had to back out. We're trying to get as much health as possible as this Scion in the top lane, but still far enough behind, up against a 5-1-1 Mordekaiser who's dealing so much damage that it kind of feels like it's at the point where you've got to cut those losses and get to the team fight point of the game.
Yeah, further demoralizing Ghost T. Noisy honestly cannot do anything about this situation, cannot stop them from invading that jungle and taking those resources either. Noisy is on a bit of a struggle bus. It's nothing they can't make up for. We've seen this player show a lot of finesse. No tilting really happens there, even in the face of a 5-1-1. We've got a lot of action mid here. Oh, God.
Hey, Dopamini's gonna find the first elimination though. Hanabi's gonna try to pick this one up. The exhaust coming out on Lustfully, and some good arrows coming out. Elise gonna go down there, being the second one to be picked up by the Ashe. A double kill, and that is going to finally give us a little bit of a lead in that bottom lane. In the meantime, Limit Testers find themselves another mid lane tower, and they are pressuring on, using Shelly to potentially get another hit, another half-health tower here, and they're gonna follow through with it. They're going to take down the first inhibitor tower and potentially the first inhibitor here. A third charge from Shelly. That is abuse of that Rift Shield right there.
I think we're gonna have to call animal control. That is not okay. Limit Testers, how dare you? That was a beautiful push, an absolutely gorgeous push, and they knew the exact moment to back out. We're seeing some very, very serious threats in Dang and Luck, and I think it's absolutely lovely that we have seen Mordekaiser multiple times so far and have not seen a Mordekaiser in a beautiful stride. So we have this little butterfly here that we have fostered for many games, and now we're actually seeing something really pay off, and it is a sight to behold. A lovely thing to see a Mordekaiser with that much momentum.
It was a really good response push, though. We could see Lustfully down in the bottom lane, trying to put as much pressure on that tower through, and recalled at the perfect time. There were 5 members of that team that were jumping in, but oh my gosh, you don't expect to be throwing down the ward and see 2 members, and 2 of the tankiest members and the most fed members on the enemy team sitting there in your bush. You do have to expect a little bit of something as that bottom tower went down. Oh no, that bottom tower just now went down, so it felt like a safe play, but not having that tri-bush or any of the dragon pit or the river covered makes it a little bit risky. Not really a misplay, just unfortunate there. And now, in the meantime, oh my gosh, Noisy gonna find out this Lissandra. Dopamini was feeling pretty good, but now going up against such a healthy boy, Noisy feels a little bit more confident as this Zion.
Yeah, Noisy, again, is a player who is very good at recovering assets, making sure that the time that they've lost in their lane, they can capitalize on those little manches on that Lissandra there, who did really well in their lane against Galio, I might add, and has a very solid lead. Great kill on the part of Noisy, just being very patient, trying to get those picks where he or she can to make sure that they can try to get ahead. We do know that Noisy can carry a game given the chance, and we'd love to kind of see that recovery from Noisy. It's not a bad lane by any stretch either. It's the difference between an okay lane for Noisy and an incredible lane for Dang. And speaking of Dang, we've got a top tower gets taken here. Finally, the reward that Dang has been working for this entire time, as well as Luckman has put in the work to get that tower and make sure that he can be a part of that victory. But Noisy's still really pushing very hard and admirably keeping up in farm as well, doing the best that they can. Not that far behind from Dang, and you wouldn't expect that considering that Dang is 5-1-4. But he's been busy elsewhere, so of course the disparity is not that large. It looks like we've got some pings going in on Dragon for Limit Testers. Ghost T has had a little bit of trouble keeping up here, has been behind since the very beginning of the game, and that's by no fault of their own. Limit Testers just have implicit map control, and that happened. Ooh, second Dragon Steel attempt there. You wanted to see it happen, but it did not. But that's the
ultimate to disengage on that as well. That hurts, but that ultimate does have a pretty low cooldown here. Now they're actually on the hunt, trying to find out if Ghosty next victim. And unfortunately, oh no, I was gonna say Ghosty is the next victim. It looks like we got a quick pause here going through. We'll hop to us, and oh my gosh, this has been an insane game, and as it feels like Gamer Snails are, not relatively far behind, at least I would say, but that bottom lane is their saving grace right now. They do have the Ashe sitting at 2-1-0, with the Elise on Ezreal at 0-1-0, so a little bit of comfort at least in that the potential to get those picks on the Volibear and the Mordekaiser if they do engage in a safe positioning is still there for Gamer Snails.
I think Gamer Snails, I think that the key here, let me know if you agree in your analysis, is going to be team fights. They have to start team fighting now. There's really no excuse for this splintered situation. You were right. about the victim there. Became a victim of the bear, as they say. Really difficult situation. But what do you think? What do you think about Gamer Snail's team fight? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, the team fight's there as long as it is incredibly safe. The problem is if they do a 5v5, there's so much potential for limit testers to engage or disengage somebody. You know, we've got Dang. We have Dang on the Mordekaiser. We have him being able to pull somebody into the realm of death. So to immediately disengage somebody from the fight and continue the rest of the team who is still very fed to really follow up that engage and hit that backline is a little bit scary. Picks, I feel, you know, while the team fight is maybe their only option, if they can find out a pick or two, that would be their best bet going into this. But this Echo is just going a little too far in, and they're trying so hard to lay down vision here in their bottom half. And that's consistently where this Echo is getting picked off because the vision is just immediately taken down. Whether it is from Luckman, whether it is from the Lulu, who's able to very quickly Whimsy herself through the jungle there and lay down more pressure and more of their own vision. We can see just looking at the bottom half of the map how there's 4 or 5 different wards all on Gamer Snail's side here. Now Noisy is trying to get an engage here onto Dang. He's at the point where he's got the follow-up from the rest of his team. This might have been the pick that they were looking for. The taunt is going to prevent him from escaping immediately, but they have to know now that the rest of the team is in the wings. That sign from Elise is going to do it as a shot comes over the wall there so they can acknowledge that this is not going to be a fair fight on their side. A good disengage there and some nice vision going down. Luckman might try to re-engage on this one, and just the person they wanted to pick out is taken down. So much damage from Ghosty is going to take down Pistachio. Luckman on the backside trying to fight everyone he can. Tank still up and alive, and Luckman having to flash out of this fight. Down goes the Scion, Elise taking down Cowrie, and now Hanabi, the only member left alive. That looked so promising there for Gamer Snails, but Luckman's survivability made it impossible.
Yeah, such a bummer to see Lustfully focusing down that Mordekaiser. I mean, he is target priority #1, but also has a lot of HP, a lot of lifesteal, a lot of regen, is really difficult to kill. Maybe not the best person to target in that situation just because it was such a hard burn by no fault of their own. You see this engage here by Galio. He's going to come in a second here. Oh, I got a little ahead of myself. There it goes. Unfortunately, you see Lustfully there trying their best to try to burn down anybody, but it gets turned on them so quickly when you focus the wrong person. And it's kind of remarkable, honestly. Even though he goes down, they still manage to come back because you have that Volibear to tank as well. You can't focus on those tanks because there's always that one on the backup as well. Probably should have been an easy focus, but it's just not there, unfortunately.
You did have, you know, of all the people, Dopamini definitely being the one that you could prioritize. There was actually some pretty good vision break coming through there from Elise on the Ezreal. They do have the shift out, so it's good to at least poke down as much damage as possible, but with the vision break, it was a little more difficult to do so. However, that Lissandra was right out in the open and just hitting that backline, and as you said, yes, Dang did get taken down in that fight, but was it worth it for them to lose 5 members to only 2 takedowns there? Now Limit Testers focusing very hard on taking this bear. Now Red Team is going to snag that one. The rest of Gamers, they'll try to engage on this ultimate coming out from Luckman. He is so tanky. Dopamini takes down the Janna here. Now Cowrie deciding that he's probably going to have to disengage from this one as Noisy gets taken down on the backside. Unable to do so, the team itself from Limit Testers splits up and finds out everybody they want to. Echo, the last surviving member of this team, needing to go all the way back to base to potentially defend a final fight.
Yeah, I think this is actually considered bullying, chasing Echo back to his base. Just kidding. They're going for the push. They're looking to end it here. It looks like Gamer Snails might be in very serious mortal peril, letting Noisy die there alone in the Baron pit, defending what was an attempted steal and did not go well. This is the kind of backlash you get for dancing the Baron dance. Had they maybe decided to let that objective go, they might be on the other side of something. But you see Ghosty trying just their damnedest to really make something happen here, defending the Nexus. It's anybody's game for the moment, at least in terms of the Nexus, but got some winions with the Baron buff.
Solid engage from Cowrie here that Hanabi's going to get taken down, and all it takes is a quick turn onto the back line there for Limit Testers to be able to burn everyone down. Those Baron minions, a huge part of that. Hard to decide who to fight, whether it's the minions or the enemy team, but really good attempt at restraining limit testers there. Just wasn't enough. Gamer Snails get taken down. It was about a 28-minute game, though, so they held their own for as long as they possibly could. So much pressure from Dang and Luckman. That was absolutely insane. And once again, our focus is back up to the top in the jungle.
Yeah, and I loved to watch that game. Noisy, former jungle of Gamer Snails, taking that top role and doing the best that they could with it. Honestly, an admirable performance on their end. Definitely never gave in to feeding. Really tried to become that powerhouse for Gamer Snails, but unfortunately was not given the time to do so. I really enjoyed watching Lustfully on the ADC there. Did their very best to try to get picks. That last Baron fight was completely zoned by that Lissandra. They began to retaliate, but by that time, their whole team has either dead or gone, and Noisy was the only person in that Baron pit left over. It was funny, though, I noticed in that very last push there, I'm watching the minions, you're watching the fight. We're both like, which one's gonna get it first?
And they both won at that point, the minions and the players there for Limit Testers. It just got to the point where they were so tanky, had so much damage as well to back it up, and the disengage was massive on their team. While Gamer Snails did have some disengage, it wasn't quite what they were looking for. We're now going to take a quick look at the bracket. The next game to be played here is going to be Sailor Scouts versus Your Nightmares, and we have been revealed that they are exactly that, Your Nightmares. So hopefully Sailor Scouts have done a little bit of scouting of their own here onto the team Your Nightmares, maybe seen what they've spiffed up on in the last couple of weeks. These guys are certainly in it to win it, but of all the teams that we've seen so far, Limit Testers really showing that they have grown a lot in the last couple of weeks as well, and could potentially degrade them just in the pick and ban portion. They won that pretty hard, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that was definitely, like I said, they lose that one game, that one critical, you hear it echo in your head, it comes up in an LCS Worlds video the next season. You're like, why did we lose that? And then you come back with a fury and a vengeance, and Limit Testers was given the opportunity to go against a very formidable team and made it happen. And I think that that's a lovely, honestly, relatively good situation for them. I love to see that hard work go in, and I love to see the determination for them to say, we're coming back, we're gonna do this. That last loss was not, it's hard to quantify that as a loss for Your Nightmares, or sorry, for Limit Testers, because Your Nightmares just capitalized on the smallest mistake with a 100 gold disparity, and so Limit Testers, they held their own, they did their best. It's just the one small mistake. It could have been made by Your Nightmares, but it wasn't, and that just happens to be the way that the game goes. But Limit Testers, formidable opponents, made sure that they had it on lockdown this time. I don't think there was really any question. After a couple of those objectives, we started to see who was there to really just take it down, win it by no margin at all. They really wanted to lock it down and make sure that they they made it come back.
Well, we will shortly see who gets to go up in the finals against Limit Testers there. We're going to take a really quick break, but stick around as we have 2 more games left for this night to be rounded out. Don't go anywhere.
I never thought I'd feel this way.
No, don't hold on to me.
It's all worth it.
Ladies, Chris.
I hear that's really bad for you.
What? No, this is about finding true love.
No, I mean the screen.
Oh, no, we're all good there. These Zenny lenses, they block the blue light.
I mean, that's still really bad for you.
This is amazing. Please go away.
Chelsea.
Oh, no, don't pick her. Oh.
So I'm gonna hold on promoting you this quarter. Cool?
Drop the taco. Get in the car. Does this Sentra feel like a compromise to you?
Wait, what?
The handling, it's good, right? No compromise there.
Nope. Watch this.
Rear automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra isn't going to compromise, why should you? You're right! Atta girl.
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class.
No one knows where it comes from. Why some have it and some don't. It's the fighting spirit. It consumes fear and weakness. It stands ready to fight whatever shape the battle takes. Because as long as there are battles, there will always be Marines.
can trade all the games, accessories, consoles, and tech you don't use anymore to get cash or store credit at GameStop. Check out the Trade Center on the GameStop app, visit GameStop.com/trade, or talk to a guest advisor at your local GameStop store to see how much your trades are worth.
For a long time, we had to prove ourselves. But we always knew what we were capable of. We knew when the time came, we would be ready for anything. Our numbers keep rising. And so do we.
Hello and welcome to everybody who's stopping into this week, the third week of the Supergirl Gamer Pro Tournament Series. We just watched two games. The first one was Knockdown Drag 'Em Out, taken over by your Nightmares, who move on to the finals for today. And then the semifinals match that we just watched right now. Gamer Snails, one of the reigning champions that we saw from week one, going up against Limit Testers, a very familiar team who has really worked to get their stuff together and to progress enough to win, not just in a composition, but in the overall team. So Limit Testers taking that one down. We may have some slight issues in terms of like a connection or a player for one of the teams going into this next semifinals match. So we'll keep you guys updated as things happen. All right, never mind. We lied. I was just told that there are no issues. The teams will be playing, so we are going to have that next semifinals match pretty standard there. I mean, we've got some crazy games today. Last week we had some crazy games, but today so far, just with the first half that we've seen, these have been some. I know I've used the term "knockdown, drag 'em out" for a lot of these games. This week, though, that is the epitome of all of these. It's been a little bit more heavy-handed on one side, to be honest, for these guys. Still some really good fight backs, but what do you think a lot of that has to do? Do you think it's positioning and vision, or do you think that has to do with the compositions that these guys are running? Maybe do you see anything that stands out in particular, Kari?
Ah, gosh, it's, we're getting to know these teams really well, and I'm starting to see some very common play styles in the ones that we've been seeing progress further than others. So Limit Testers and your Nightmares, obviously they're standing out. But it's anybody's game. However, this last one with Limit Testers, they made very certain, and almost, it's funny, we kind of watched the same game twice. I mean, not in a boring way, obviously, like one had some crazy utility and the other one was definitely aggressive, but we definitely watched two teams exercise a lot of, again, map control has been the name of the game here with the junglers. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an openly aggressive strategy. It just means that you have to have a better vision score. And we can go down the line of all of the games that we've seen so far. Every single one, if you tally up those vision scores, the winning team always has the higher vision score. So, I mean, that's the name of the game. And, it's not the most fun aspect to focus on, but, as the more seasoned caster in this situation, you have continually pointed out that it always comes clutch down to those little wards. And it's been such an interesting thing to watch these strategically placed wards, or taking advantage of the failure to have a sweeper trinket on some of these instances as well, is very punishing. And I feel like actually I've learned a lot about my my mediocre vision game, and I'm going to take that a little more seriously going forward, because these teams have exercised and proven, and we've heard it before, like when you play League of Legends, they always talk about vision and how important it is. And I think you just kind of lose sight of that with all of the excitement in the game.
No pun intended.
So much fun. Yeah. You don't exactly see that. I should have just taken off my glasses then. Damn. But it's been the name of the game, and it's been pretty, I'm not going to say predictable, but you definitely start to see the ward score disparity. Although in that last game, the Janna on the Mersnail side had the highest ward score in the entire game, but could not make up for their teammates not warding and not actively. But once you get, a certain point in the game, it gets frustrating to focus on vision because you're just trying to keep your head above water. I mean, what do you think the experience was like for that Echo on that other team?
Oh, okay. I will say the Echo got into a few risky situations early on when Vision could have been not so much like there should have been some anticipation, but you've only got so much vision you can lay down early on unless you're spending gold on getting wards that early, which generally you're not going to do, especially not as an Echo who needs an item or two to really be able to do that burst damage that you want to. But I know I feel so hard for the Janna because having a high vision score like that. I've been in a situation where support was my second main role, not my current one, but I definitely felt having incredible vision, but it was taken down so quickly by the enemy team. And then your own team is kind of questioning, hey, where's our vision? Where's our counter vision? Where are things that have gone up? And it's like, man, I laid it down, but it was immediately taken down. I mean, we were watching this Janna set a ward, and then instantly the Volibear would use a sweeper, like the second it went down. And they were great placements, they were good attempts at either preventing ganks, preventing movement from the Volibear on the enemy jungle, or really anyone, since there was so much roaming. Well, I guess mostly the more to the Volibear. The rest of the lanes kind of stayed in place until it really got to late game. But man, it's so tough to play a game like that, especially when you've got people like Sion, who needs that vision to heavily engage to actually go in on the ultimate. The Galio, who, yes, can go in to help save someone, but also wants to use that to aggress and might not know that there are a couple other members in the wings there, especially when it takes a moment or two for that to actually to call out for the Galio's ultimate to come down a second or two on the cast time on that one. So it was really well played by Gamer Snails. They fell behind in the jungle, and I think the second limit testers recognized that they had that upper hand. They took every little piece of it that they absolutely could, and really not much the Gamer Snails could do in response. So that means that this next game going through, your Nightmares, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have nightmares about them tonight. They are going up against Sailor Scouts. That is a team that we have seen a lot of over the last couple of weeks and make it into the finals. Actually, I believe they're in the first round. First week, they were in the finals with Gamer Snails. Gamer Snails were just taken down there. So we'll see if they can stand up to your Nightmares. But based on the display that they showed us at the first game here this week, it's going to be really tough. What do you think would help these guys up against your Nightmares based on what we saw?
Oof. Gosh, you know what? I'm gonna need to see the picks because your Nightmares, like I said, that Lilia pick came out of nowhere. That's that diversity, that ability to adapt. I think, as the two very proud parents of this tournament, we're very excited to see your Nightmares' adaptability and their ability to grow and really see themselves through these difficult situations and these picks and really adapt. And so I think with Sailor Scouts, the only way to beat a team that has proven that they can kind of hang with every single punch is to be at the same level. I mean, I'm hoping that Sailor Scouts, as the team of love and justice has been scrimming, I hope that friendship will carry them through it. The Cassie ban for Solaris Revenge, very classic. That was the first time that you and I both kind of our ears perked up at Solaris Revenge, displaying some very serious bravery, but also control during that very first 30 seconds of their game. It was kind of a funny neg. The Anivia is also Solaris Revenge getting banned. It sounds like Sailor Scouts knows who the captain of the team is, the heart of the team. And as Sailor Scouts, they know you got to take the heart out before you can take the rest of it out.
And now, towards the first week or two, Sailor Scouts were very high on our list in terms of prowess, in terms of that top lane jungle prowess that we've been talking about throughout the entirety of this tournament. Over the last several weeks, Prothean and Goldflower, just massive players. Pan, I know that we've talked about the Ahri a couple times. I believe there was an Ori maybe that came out from Pan that was just disgusting. So I think that this is actually this may be my favorite matchup of the night here going in. I know the finals will be an exciting game, but based on what we've seen previously from Prothean, Goldflower, Pan, Lilac, Sola, and Neki Lime, there's so much potential that these guys have to take down a team, as big as your Nightmares was in that first match. I think the biggest thing probably to watch against your Nightmares is really just, throw all of your wards. Everybody just move over, put all your wards behind the first tower in mid lane. Don't let Solari's Revenge jump behind and do what he did, or she did, during the game against the Air Force team, because it was utterly disgusting. I mean, you would have somebody engaging below the Raptor bush when you're just trying to walk back into lane, and 100-0 from the Ziggs was banned out. So Sailor Scouts are aware that was a nightmare on the side of your Nightmares. We can see to round it out, it's the Cass and the Anivia that you mentioned there, Kari, following it up with the Ziggs. So all bans against Solari's Revenge. And then on the other side, majority bans against Goldflower there. So you've got the Kayn, the Olaf, and then the Morgana. So they want to avoid that heavy CC, and potentially also the Black Shield that she has to offer. It can be absolutely massive.
I absolutely love to see these picks. We've got the Lulu again, almost like nearly every single game. I guess we're just, I love to see a Vayne. That's one of my favorite champs. The glass cannon. It either succeeds or it horribly fails. And so this comp has to be built either around this Vayne or a very strong counter jungle. Because as these teams, you know what I love, okay, this is the most exciting part about this. Stay with me here. These teams know each other, and it is so obvious through their bans that they are very, very clearly and obviously aware of each other's previous games. And I'm a studious person. I appreciate that in teams. It's just as important to know your enemy. You can't just go in blind at this point in a tournament and expect to win. The ELO disparities are very different. You can't really, you can't really chalk it up to that. You have to know these other teams' strategies, and you have the ability and the resources to learn about what they're doing. So these Solaris Revenge bans are very good. And this Goldflower ban, I know.
That looked familiar right there.
Nay,
that's bringing flashbacks. I actually, if I've had nightmares of anything recently, it has been Goldflower's Hecarim, which was, I believe, one of the shortest games that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Possibly, I think the shortest was the one that we just saw with your nightmares there, at 22 minutes. But I know that the game that we had before, with that Goldflower on the Hecarim was just despicable. I mean, I felt real bad for the other team. Vi, on the other hand, though, is a really heavy engager as well and can do a lot of damage early on too. So, I mean, I think we're going to be seeing the same thing that we saw from both of these teams now, exactly the same that we saw from your nightmares at that first game tonight.
My heart is heavy. I'm a big fan of both of these junglers, these tops. I mean, these are teams that we've become very familiar with, Alpha Male Jungler and Goldflower. But the last game that Sailor Scouts played in the very first week against Gamer Snails, Goldflower at 18 minutes, 6-0 and 3 on Hecarim. Just a terrifying force. The game ended at 25 minutes with that Hecarim Goldflower 12-0 and 7. So your nightmares have formidable opponents. This first game against Gamer Snails, who are, they're still a formidable team. We've seen them in the bracket every single week, and they have always done their very best and put on their best performance. Sailor Scouts absolutely crushed them in the first week. That was one of the games that sticks out in my mind just because we saw that Prothean volley top and that Goldflower Hecarim jungle, and that became something really interesting. Plus, we saw Pan as Ari in the mid there, but we have seen Pan on Orianna, and Pan has proven to be a very solid mid. Again, the map awareness on our mids is something to behold, but Solaris Revenge, terrifyingly beefy mid. Really, we saw them completely zone out their last opponents, and that was absolutely terrifying for them. But I think we have a really solid match. I love a Jax pick. I think that's a really great one. I also really like his taunts. So.
We have not seen... Actually, I don't know if we've seen a Jax at all during this. We did see Alpha Male Jungle on the Vi, and that worked very well. And actually, now that I think about it, now that I look back at these notes, your Nightmares did hold the record for the shortest game before today's. Today's was 22 minutes. Their last game, where we had Aurelia, Vi, Cassiopeia, Kaisa, and Lulu on your Nightmares, was only 20 minutes long.
What?
So this is a couple, I guess we've only got one of those members there on this side, well, the Lulu as well. So two of those being the same. Clorox on the Rocks clearly having a favorite there with the Lulu. I mean, I like both of these teams, and I am very excited to see how the top lane engages here, and also what jungles decide to do in terms of early engages, because that's what we have seen so much of from both Alpha Male Jungle and Goldflower. Both of them, I mean, they clear a single camp maybe. They get a buff one camp, and then they're immediately engaging onto specifically the top lane. So at this point in the game, is it something that you can really predict and watch out for? It keeps working, and yet you'd think at this point they'd kind of recognize that that's the goal to start.
Yeah, these teams want to end the game though. You can see the aggression budding in all of these comps. They're ready to call it. They're ready to end it. But my question for you, Jolly, Solaris Revenge had so many counter picks. 4 out of the 5 bans were targeted at Solaris Revenge. Is Arya a comfort pick? That's a champ a lot of people know how to play. Do you think that Solaris Revenge has been relegated to a very far off pick?
I want to take a look back, and see if Solar's Revenge has had a lot of different selections. Same thing with Pan, though. You know, we've had the Ahri, the Syndra, the Orianna, things of that nature. And, I'm not seeing this being picked up previously by Solar's Revenge. And it is very possible, too, though, that there were several picks open for Solar's Revenge, but there were 3 bans immediately on that. So when you say the relegation, I definitely see it. However, the amount of utility that an Ahri does offer, and the ability to do so much damage from such a long distance away and being able to get this Jax and this Vi to engage as hard as they can, following it up with something like the Charm and then all that intense damage from the rest of the team. I feel like Solar's Revenge, this is just another one that has not yet been forced on them. You know, they went with ones that worked with the comp before, and this time they're deciding, all right, we'll stick with the Ahri, a more basic champion, and for a lot of people, one of the earlier champions to learn in the mid lane because of the utility, because of that charm, and how much that actually helps in the long run, whether it's right in lane at the beginning of the game, or it is later on in team fights, or it is later on if you were trying to get picks, whether you're ahead or behind. So I don't quite feel like they were forced onto this one, but 4 of the 5 bans were against Solari's Revenge specifically. So they know that this is the lane to watch out for.
Yeah, and the same thing can be said for Prothean and Goldflower. They definitely came out to have a good time, and they're feeling so attacked right now. I mean, you look at the Orin pick. Orin is such a strong pick and very underrated in my opinion. And to take that away from Prothean is fine, but the Volibear, we've seen that from Prothean with incredible prowess. And so maybe these the bans, I mean, it is personal. Well, absolutely for both teams. But you know, you got to play the game the way you want to play it. I do like the focused bans on the other side there against Solaris Revenge. It just feels very personal.
Feel good.
Yeah,
respect
it definitely.
fans, you know, that means that they're worried about it. And if Solaris Revenge is in a position where they weren't actually forced on this Ahri, where Ahri is a very comfortable pick for them, you know, maybe there's a reason that they haven't pulled it out yet. Maybe they were expecting this to happen if they continue to do as well as they have been. But Pan has been the other outstanding mid player that we have seen throughout this tournament, throughout this series here, starting from week number 1. And so a champion that went really, really well for Pan here on the Orianna previously, one of the earlier picks, and was banned out occasionally from her later on. That's also a good sign too. You know, she's got something she's a little more comfortable on, and there's just so many powerful players on Sailor Scouts. They could have, if they wanted to, just completely banned out Pan. But I think Pan has already shown that there's enough of a roster that she's got in terms of champion selection that there's really no point in doing it. They haven't really been revealed that, with Solaris Revenge only being involved in this week and the last week. I don't believe we saw them at all during the first week. And looking at my notes, unless they changed their name or something, no, we didn't see them there in the finals of that. So a little bit less information as well that we've got on your Nightmares. I'm gonna be scared of this Vi though. If I'm gonna say one thing, while the Hecarim is terrifying, this Vi does have the potential to boost this Jax up. And when you've got a fed Jax, you got to end up going tanky on the Volibear and the Hecarim, and that pulls away a lot from that team composition of the overall idea behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. That Vi is a scary pick for sure. Especially because you can target and isolate. So, you know, whoever is actually excelling on their team, Sailor Scouts have several carries on their team, but whoever is excelling, I mean, if Goldflower decides they want to carry, Alpha Male Jungler can just manhandle them. You know, I mean, despite being a woman with the coolest League of Legends name ever.
I know, right? That's spectacular. I even said last week, I was like, I really hope that's a female. And I did figure it out because they ended up following me on Twitter and followed it back. I was like, yes, it's totally a chick. That's so cool. That's rad. And we can expect, obviously, 3 of these people are going to be female or non-binary. So that's why I'm more comfortable just calling everybody a she. But to have something like that, Alpha Male Jungle, is just a spectacular name. And she, like, I don't want to say she is, you know, because she's alpha female, obviously, clearly, like, based on what we've seen. But my goodness, when you have jungle as part of your name and you play that lane that incredibly well, as many times as they try to ban you out, it's just not going to work. So I think that they kind of realize that Solaris Revenge maybe hopefully has a minimal champ pool, because we've already seen that Alpha Male Jungle does not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope on behalf of Sailor Scouts that this Solaris Revenge pick is a backup pick, but Solaris Revenge I have been incredibly impressed with. And like we said, you asked me at the beginning of this, you know, what do the teams have to worry about? And adaptability is one of those things that your Nightmares has excelled at. And we haven't seen enough of Sailor Scouts to really say quite yet, because we've seen them get the picks that they want. Lilac Soul on that Ashe, though, that's something we've seen, I think, every single game. And I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of Lilac Soul being the low-key, understated...
Oh no! Oh, Clorox on the rocks! Oh no, buddy! Oh, there's a forced flash out! I feel like Sailor Scouts feel pretty good about that one. That does give these guys enough time to recall. Clorox on the rocks clearly going to do that. But a flash away from the Lulu means that things are going to be a little more difficult. You have to be a little more careful deciding whether to use your W to speed up yourself or an ally or to get the polymorph down. The versatility is very helpful there, but it also makes last-second decision-making, potentially regretful.
Yeah, absolutely. Those Lulus definitely get to make live or die decisions, especially because this Lulu's whole entire job is to peel for Ame on this Vayne. That is a huge gamble that has to pay off if this team wants to win. There are other options, of course, but a useless late-game Vayne is a burden on a whole team. So that's a bet that you're making in all seriousness. Clorox on the Rocks has one job. What is that job, Jolly? Keep Ame alive.
Yeah, right? Gosh, and that's the funny thing in this is these guys might decide to change their ideas of the standard jobs going into this. We might see some early roam coming from the bottom lane that we haven't seen at all, depending on how much pressure this mid lane has, because that is a much more normal thing of mid roaming towards the bottom side if there's pressure there, or at least when in the game there was more pressure towards that. And also vice versa, the movement of the support up towards the mid lane if they absolutely need it to let the island lane, the bottom lane, become a little bit more of that island lane. So we may see some changes in the styles of play even going into this. Ooh, Lilac Soul is going to take a bit of damage, but these objectives, the couple of games today that we've seen actually, these objectives have not been the center focus for these fights. It has not been the point of contention, really. It has more been fights that engage across the map, and then the response is, okay, we won that fight, let's go take the objective, which is really different from what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's the ebb and flow of the map. Instead of the objectives controlling the flow of the game, it's the players deciding, in spite of objectives, even objectives that stay on the map for an excessively long time. It's the flow of the lanes. They wanted to control the map. The map is the real prize here, with or without objectives. It's where the fights are happening, because it is, at this point in this tournament, it is for every action, there is an equal or sometimes a devastating reaction based on that game between your nightmares and Limit Break, or Limit Testers rather. Huh.
Yeah, and you know what? While we've got a little bit of a lull here, I do want to point out, keep in mind, guys, that you can still sign up for this. You can absolutely check out at SG Gamer Pro on Twitter or Instagram, or go to www.supergamergirl.com. And as I say, we got a flash out from the Nami here. Really safe move there, actually. Just took almost no damage in that engage. And then, a quick shout to, Zenny, US Marines, GameStop, as well as the Air Force, who we saw play earlier today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and for our partners supporting the Supergirl Gamer series in its mission of equality, which is exactly what we're going for with this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a game...
Ooh! That was a weird flash.
My heart.
All right, that was an interesting flash there from Prothean. It looked like it was it was a simultaneous flash there from Sign Me Up and from Prothean. Prothean, I think, trying to re-engage there at the end. Being at single-digit health. That has to have been single digits. That means that she's going to have to recall and then burn that teleport to remain in lane and not let this Jax get too far ahead, because we know a Jax with items is not a Jax that we want to be up against.
No, it seems maybe potentially a sweaty-handed mistake on Prothean's part. It's difficult to intimidate an enemy who has, 3 times as much health as you do in the single digits. All they have to do is boop your snoot and you're done. So that was an interesting flash. It's okay. It happens. We know Prothean has control of this lane, as has been proved before. But Sign Me Up is a formidable opponent as well. Everybody's trying to keep their calm, especially here in the bot lane. I love to watch those farm numbers tick up right next to each other. It's nice to see these two lanes making some very, very solid trades with one another. And I want to say that in the mid lane, if we don't see Solaris doing some roaming soon, I'm just gonna quit the game. I'm just gonna leave. That's what I want to see.
Oh,
I
and
want
as
to see
you
some
say
of those.
it, A little bit of movement down. Oh, and in the meantime, Sign Me Up's going to get jumped on. And speaking of jumping, finds a ward to hop to over on the other side there. So escapes from that double up. Prothean being out of both of her summoner spells. As we mentioned, a flash from both of them towards the end, but for them, Prothean having to use that teleport means that Sign Me Up potentially has a little bit more of an opportunity as well to roam if there's some pressure in this lane or pressure from the alpha male jungler there on the Vi, who is at the moment pinging out this dragon. We can see that they want to engage on this one. Really not a ton of pressure on either side here, aside from the mid lane, as Ahri is pushed back to the tower after doing a recall, buying a couple items to engage on these next fights. So we already see, just from this, 6 minutes, 15 seconds is one of the longest amount of times that we've seen before a first blood goes down, and these lanes already appear to be so incredibly even. I am loving this. However, this Jax is getting a little bit pushed behind in terms of CS.
Yeah, and he was bullied out of lane. A couple of interesting plays. Prothean definitely has the control in this lane right now. Solaris Revenge is making a couple of moves here, trying to make sure that their jungle is safe, that they're not going for the dragon. And earlier, Alpha Male Jungle had stopped by the dragon to say hello, decided it wasn't safe and backed off. So that's not something that Solaris Revenge needs to be concerned with. But yeah, it looks like we're watching Goldflower make some very safe plays here, keeping an eye on those lanes. Really tried to give Prothean a little bit of an edge against that Jax by stopping in lane, minding his own business, trying to farm up. Nobody has any particularly interesting wards right now. It does seem like both teams are kind of respecting each other's ability to get some farm up, because both teams clearly are trying to control the map, make sure that their star players can get in position, and make sure that everything is hunky-dory. But, you know, we're used to seeing a more aggressive jungle game this early on in the game. Even at 7 minutes, you know, you've usually got a couple of hits and a couple of knockout, drag them out, as you have said before. But everybody's kind of minding their own business, but we might have a bit of a dragon tussle here. Bot lane is not primed and ready to come and help out Alpha Male Jungler being pushed in for a dragon, so Alpha Male Jungler has to make a decision, and they have decided to engage the dragon despite their bot lane not necessarily being available. Watching the Lulu get caught out trying to aid Alpha Male Jungler, Solaris Revenge trying to protect Alpha Male Jungler as they want to do. This is a very normal play for this team, your Nightmares, keeping control of that objective and coming together and communicating. And unfortunately, Goldflower was not fast enough, doesn't realize that these objectives that they take for your Nightmares are generally very locked down, and you have to be there before your Nightmares even starts to set up. If you really want to mitigate that good communication, the good zoning that happens with Solaris, the whole team positions themselves to make sure that that becomes a win and not a loss for them. But it does seem to me, in my opinion, the adaptability of Sailor Scouts, and especially Goldflower, that won't happen again. It won't be that easy for your Nightmares, so they should be prepared for that when the next dragon spawns, which I'm very excited for.
Oh yeah. Sign Me Up very quickly catching up as well in terms of CS, as quickly as Prothean is trying to push this lane. Jax does have about the same amount of that AoE damage to be spread across, and the pressure to be going down for both sides. So I love this matchup that has gone across here between Prothean and Sign Me Up. Still has the teleport up for Sign Me Up, so may attempt to use that sometime soon. We do have the Rift Herald as an opportunity for a fighting place here. Sign Me Up going in pretty hard on Prothean, who is back here, going to burn the ultimate and immediately getting taken down. First blood going over your Nightmares, and in the meantime, a great blast cone from Solaris Revenge is going to put him right in the line, or her, right in the line of fire to take down that Nami. Neki Lime using the flash at the end of that fight to no avail. So a couple of abilities and summoner spells there burned from Sailor Scouts, losing 2 lives.
That is absolutely, you know what, sometimes that first blood is jarring and you don't have your head about you, you're looking at the map wondering what happened in your top lane, and then all of a sudden you're hemorrhaging more kills. It's not the biggest deal. It was the support Nami. Neki Lime managed to take one for the team there, and it wasn't Lilac Soul, so not all is lost. But listen, a Vayne with 1 kill is still a Vayne with 1 kill. That becomes concerning very quickly. You don't want that to become a problem. She cannot snowball. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult for Sailor Scouts to make a recovery. Although I do have a lot of faith in Lilac Soul's abilities, especially because they have proven to be a very patient, very well-positioned, very safe lane with Neki Lime behind them. We do have alpha male jungler here at Shelly and Solaris. Again, I love this. I absolutely adore this teamwork that Solaris Revenge is making sure to protect alpha male jungler. They're a great team, honestly, a great duo. I wouldn't be surprised if these two do duo queue, because one of the best ways to climb in solo queue is using a jungler and a mid. It's one of the better comps that you can have.
Yeah. And look also at the amount of vision that Your Nightmares has on the bottom side there of Sailor Scout's jungle, and ultimate coming in from the Hecarim as this Jax gets taken down. Goldflower gonna pick that one up. It is a difficult lane here for Prothean. The engage from Sign Me Up is much heavier earlier on. The Crystalline Arrow is going to come out here from Lilac Soul, followed up by the Tidal Wave. They're trying to focus on Ame, but Ame ends up getting ulted by the Lulu. The exhaust comes out on Ame, and it's not going to be enough as the ultimate in response there comes out on the Lilac Soul, who gets exhausted during that fight, and that Vision Ward is going to give Ame the elimination. A great attempt at breaking the line of sight, and then a great job of Ame of reigniting that vision by throwing down the ward to get the final hit there. Very low on mana, but a very successful fight in the bottom lane for Your Nightmares.
Lilac Soul is not made for in-lane skirmishes, especially there's the power spike initiative here, is that Neki Lime was still level 6. And even though they had that ult, and even though they have their bubbles, Lulu has also something to mitigate that. Lulu also has slows, and with that Vayne with 1 kill, you have a level disparity, and you have a kill disparity. Going in was not the right decision. Lilac Soul is not made for those in-lane skirmishes as far as we've seen going forward.
It was a really good, attempt there. They got the exhaust down. There goes Shelly, is going to knock a few plates down from the mid tower before they go down, about a minute and a half. So it was a really good attempt, especially with Ame being as low as she was that early in the fight, but you can never forget about the Lulu ultimate. You always have to remember that the wild growth is there and available, and for a Vayne is actually massive. And in terms of Lulu as a support, that's one of my favorites. Not that I play the Vayne, but that is definitely one of the favorites. There's some good damage going on to Sign Me Up, and then back onto Prothean. Now Prothean's getting a little bit of an opportunity, having finished up the Black Cleaver, to continue engaging on these fights and to deal reciprocate damage onto Sign Me Up, who may have to recall here and do a little bit of a purchase.
Yeah, it looks like that objective is coming up. This time the Sailor Scouts are definitely there. They have a presence there, but Goldflower isn't there quite yet. That was not what we were hoping for. We were hoping that Goldflower would be there first, but Alpha Male Jungler has beat them to the punch, and they have locked down this objective. They're already starting it. They recognize that they can see Goldflower on the way there, so they can mitigate a lot of the sneakiness, a lot of the damage, and they're going to take that objective if they don't act very soon. They've decided to disengage from the objective as well, so this is now becoming an ebb and flow. This is kind of what we were hoping for, that Sailor Scouts would try to make up for the last objective that they lost by responding in kind, and it looks like Your Nightmares is almost willing to yield this objective. Goldflower is suspicious of that. They don't have enough vision to really fully confirm here.
Oh, the pings are coming out, though.
Jungler is, yeah. This is a trap. This is an absolute trap. Letting them try and take the objective first, and then...
if I throw down the ultimate on Pan in the background, the charm just barely missing, but Solari's Revenge is going to be able to follow it up with the damage necessary. And Clorox on the rocks, picking up the elimination there. Vayne, in the meantime, getting a double kill on the backside of that fight. Prothean, now the last surviving member, gets charmed up there, and a beautiful ace coming from Your Nightmares just after turret blading falls.
That was a trap. That was a fake out. This alpha male jungler backs off enough that they don't know where they are. They think maybe that they're not going to take this objective, and then they come in and absolutely punish them. Let's watch that replay in bot lane as well. Lilac Soul gets consecrated against the wall and taken out because that's too much of a stun. Don't stand in front of a wall in front of a Vayne, and Neki Lime unfortunately succumbs to that, but also Vayne forgets just how precious she is and how delicate.
I think tumbling at the point of the tumble, I think she knew, all right, you know what, I'm going to go down here, but I'm going to get a double kill with me, and 4-1-0 in that lane does not feel horrible at all. 0-2-0 on the opposing side. Slightly ahead in CS, so really actually the differentials in terms of CS right now across the board are quite even. And you have to consider as well the itemization, you know, the crossfire blade, the blade being taken there by the Lulu as opposed to the shield there from the Nami means that that gold is still going over. So it's quite even. Sign Me Up now taking quite a bit of damage here. Prothean is going to continue the fight, but a disengage from Sign Me Up acknowledges that she does not have the teleport up and available, and the Vi was not quite close enough to engage on that one and follow up there. Plus, they have to be careful now that, you've got a Baron Pit with a new Shelly that's going to emerge soon.
Yeah, they're trying to, it seems as though Prothean is kind of getting a false sense of security here. Sign Me Up disengages, but that means Prothean feels like they've got the dominance in the lane, but the truth is that you've got Solaris Revenge hovering in mid lane, and you had all Alpha Male jungler there on Krugs just to make sure everything was okay, and now Sign Me Up turns around after faking out Prothean. Solaris Revenge is there to try to clean up.
No
not
way!
Quite there.
The Spirit Rush just not doing enough. That's gotta be single-digit health. The Ignite also
25.
coming out. So not just the Spirit Rush, but the Ignite coming out there. Survivability on the ball bear was enough. The ultimate now coming through from this Hecarim, and he's gonna find himself a double kill as well as his life. That lane, that's a solid play for Sailor Scout. The flash into the tidal wave is going to follow this one up as Ame gets bolted there by the wild growth from Clorox on the rocks. And this time, the tumble is not going to equal death, as the ultimate from the Lulu at least prevented a little bit, or supplied a little bit more health to take those tower shots. Lilac Soul making it out alive and doing a considerable amount of damage as well to Ame, both of whom on the ADC side used both of their summoner spells.
Yeah, you love to see it. You like to see Ame have that disengage. Ame is willing to let their support have kills, but not Lilac Soul. And that's a very strategic way to die. You know, Neculime can have a kill or two against Ame, but Ame is not going to give Lilac Soul any recourse at all. And that's kind of the theme of your nightmares as they begin to try to capitalize on the fact that Ame was burned down. And they were going to probably go for a tower dive there, you know, a Vice special. It's very common, especially as we're getting later in the game here, level 11.
Too.
Yeah, lots of good pings. Ame really making some safe calls here. That's what they excel at. The wariness we really appreciate. Got healed up by Nami there. It is really, really just trying to catch up. The gold disparity, though, the farm disparity, despite Vayne having 5 kills, Lilac Soul is really trying to stay on step, make up for past mistakes and that some bad engages, but we've got a little bit of a problem here in our jungle on the Sailor Scout side. They're starting to show, again, with that vision game, the deeper wards for your nightmares have been absolutely clutch for their success, and we're seeing those all over them. You just take a quick glance. There are no deep wards on the Sailor Scouts end, and that's something that they absolutely need if they want to get ahead and catch your nightmares out, and that's the truth.
And they have been trying very hard to get that vision down. The recourse, though, your nightmares has been huge. Now, Prothean and Sign Me Up both doing some solid back and forths here, but Sign Me Up is going to find the upper hand on this one, using the ultimate a little bit later in that fight and taking down Prothean, who's currently sitting at 0-3-1. It feels okay when your Hecarim has done an invade or two and has been able to pick up a kill to help push in that lane, but still not great, as this Jax is just going to get heftier and heftier as time goes on. The last thing you want is a big late-game Jax and a big late-game Vayne, and with a Lulu, all of them can be big.
Yeah, everybody gets to be big now! They've definitely learned from their last Dragon experience. They're already setting up now. Despite the fact that Alpha Male junglers in top lane, they're still afraid to lose these objectives because your Nightmares has shown very clearly that they have the kind of team synergy to lock down objectives, where Sailor Scouts is struggling a little bit, although doing their very best here. The disparity between kills is starting to grow, and we have some very serious hyper carries on your Nightmare side, so these objectives are going to become key for Sailor Scouts to pull ahead. They need to avoid team fights with your Nightmares, which is not an option.
Speaking of which, a triple charm there. The Vi's going to go in with the Assaulting Battery. Lilac Soul is going to throw down on the backline of the Clorox on the rocks. That crystalline arrow on the other side. Prothean and Goldflower try to engage here. Sign Me Up takes down Pan, though, or takes down Goldflower. Pan goes down in the meantime. A double kill there going over to Sign Me Up, and a very quick pickup of that third dragon of the game for them. On the other side, Sailor Scouts did manage to drop Shelly there in the mid lane before that engage, almost losing a tower, but it's still 2-0 now in favor of your Nightmares.
Yeah, not going to be able to recoup that those losses there, unfortunately. Lilac Soul did make a good decision to disengage there and try to go back and not die for the cause, unfortunately. Mid lane, though, is coming up, but we've already lost bot, we've already lost mid, we've already lost top for Sailor Scouts. And it's just a matter of starting to push those objectives now and not fighting your Nightmares head on. These team fights are not going to serve Sailor Scouts well. They don't have enough heal for their own ADC, who is already struggling to keep up. Team fights are not the answer here for Sailor Scouts. They should avoid that at all costs, but we'll see what happens. Because historically speaking, Sailor Scouts have always had really aggressive comps. They've always kind of had really good team fights. Goldflower with really good engages, who is still keeping their cool. Despite having lanes fall, which is one of the worst tilters for a jungle, they are keeping their cool, they are staying up as much as they possibly can with this Vi, but the presence on your Nightmares is still very strong, and they are very difficult to contend with if you're not aware of how good their vision strategy really can be.
And now this is where things start to become a bigger struggle as well for Sailor Scouts, having a tower taken down in each lane. The mid lane and the top being the main ones to focus on here, because now that the Baron has spawned, it's so much more difficult to engage on these fights. They cannot start the Baron and take damage themselves here, so we're going to see if they try to counter-engage. If they do, it's going to have to be a little bit into the fight. Solari's Revenge might be caught out here, though. Goldflower going to engage on the backline. The stun going down. Solari's Revenge flashing out. The ultimate Stormbringer coming in for Prothean on the other side. Pan ends up going down to Alpha Male Jungler while two members are still trying to chase down Solari's Revenge. Goldflower gets the pickup on that, but the Condemn into the wall from Ame is going to give a double kill over to the Vi here. A few summoner spells expended, but absolutely worth it for your Nightmares.
It's a trap. You cannot team fight your Nightmares. They're trying to goad the other team with these objectives. They did it at the other dragon, the Cloud Drake there. They just goaded them into those fights. And Sailor Scouts at this point, they have to know that it's not viable for them to be getting in team fights. They need to protect their objectives. And, you know, if your Nightmares wants an objective or two, they're going to have to give it up. At this point, Sailor Scouts can't really contend with that. They'll need to catch your Nightmares out on a mistake. And, you know, sometimes teams, when they're this far ahead, they do get lazy, they do get sloppy, but historically speaking, your Nightmares does not do that. They go even harder in the second half.
And Goldflower now is finding out Sign Me Up Prothean on the other side of that. This time, there is no help from your Nightmares, but oh my goodness, the lifesteal available here almost kept Sign Me Up alive. Prothean able to take him down there towards the end. The Blade of the Ruin King being burned during that fight, but the Bramble Vest really coming in handy for this Volibear, and that will end up working out for them later on in this game. A 1-for-1 is definitely victorious for Sailor Scouts now at this point, especially to take down somebody as big as the Jack. So that fight, even though it was a 1-for-1, seems even, did end up giving Sailor Scouts a little bit of a boost there.
Yeah, which is great. You know, that kind of boost in the hands of Prothean. Woo! God.
Oh my goodness. Wow, a great response there. Solari's Revenge did not realize that Prothean and Pan were in the wings. The Crystalline Arrow is going to find out Alpha Male Jungler and take her down. Ame, in the meantime, finds out Pan. Now going to go here for Neki Lime, doing so much damage. A bubble going to be missed there. The ultimate coming through from Goldflower is going to push Ame and force a flash out. But she has the capabilities to follow up on this. A quadra kill going over to Ame, thanks to Clorox on the rocks with the help. And they're looking for the pentakill. They are going to get it. There it is. Pentakill going over to your Nightmares. Ame, the MVP of this team.
Our absolute first pentakill going to a Vayne. This is the kind of snowball we were worried about. We had warned them, but there's really not a lot you can do to mitigate a fully fed Vayne. We will see what happens. Build some of that armor, build something that slows her down, and make sure that you are not around when she pops her ult. Just run. It's okay. There's no shame in running. No shame in that. Lilac Soul really did try to follow up on Goldflower, who saw with big, eyes bigger than your mouth, that potentially they could get a kill on Ame. But that's always a trap with Vayne. Not always a great idea to go in and engage unless you have your whole 5-piece with you to take her down, because, as you saw there, that pentakill, the 1v5, the domino effect as Sailor Scouts throw themselves, at your Nightmares. This objective is locked down. There is no recourse for Sailor Scouts here. They cannot compete with the team fight that they have at this moment. The option right now is to lay really low, get resources, get picks.
Gosh.
Yeah,
The
do a lot.
positioning there. Solari's Revenge avoiding everything. I mean, sidestepping, fancy footing around everything, and that was a flash and an ultimate out from Negulime just to try to avoid getting knocked by Solari's Revenge. So much presence from this one player. I mean, not that Ame doesn't have the presence as well.
Yeah, but the sidestepping, you know, you missed the crystalline arrow there on oh gosh, Prothean's trying to find an engage, trying to find any sort of pick here, but again with the team fight, they're going in, he goes in with his ult and pops him up, but it's not enough. Wolflower gets pushed back and is the only man standing, goes completely down, the Baron is open with more Nightmares to take. It is theirs to take. They have that pentakill in the bag. Now they have another ace. And absolutely, I guess they decided they don't even need that Baron. They're going to try to end this game without
it is
Baron.
Very possible. It is very possible. And during that fight, Sailor Scouts unfortunately did not spot out Ame, do a single tick of damage to her in that entire thing. Not incredibly staggered, cool, or respawns here for these guys. But the amount of damage that they have on objectives, not even having a mountain dragon, should allow them to take the first. Now the second tower. I don't see them being able to recover here, Sailor Scouts. Your Nightmares taking down the Nexus and making their way to the finals.
27 minutes right on the dot there. Lucky number 27 for your Nightmares, I guess. Definitely something to watch out for. Truly becoming your Nightmare, learning to capitalize on those engages. You know, I did not realize the psychological warfare that happens with your Nightmares. It wasn't until, I love getting to know these players. I love getting to know these teams and realizing alpha male junglers disengage at that first dragon, just casually walking out of vision, getting their blue, pretending like they're all going away. All of the teammates all pull back, and under the guise of not getting that dragon, they let the other team engage, take a little bit of damage, and then Vi goes in for the engage and absolutely crushes them. And that happened again with Baron. Your Nightmares is playing a psychological, and League of Legends is not just skill-based. In fact, that is the lowest bar, I would say. You gotta master the skills, but understanding the map and understanding what the other team is thinking and what their potential decisions will be, it becomes key, especially at this level of play. And your Nightmares kind of has their other team's psychological profile on lock, and I think it's kind of nasty. It's kind of nasty.
It's a fitting name. Your Nightmares is absolutely a fitting name. Like you were saying, psychologically, yes, absolutely. There was a bit, of a disparity with the Volibear, losing to the Jax in lane, which is relatively typical, but that was with a lot of presence from the Hecarim as well, and really none from the Vi early on. I think they acknowledged that, hey, you should be able to hold your own up here. Once or twice getting taken down. Solari's Revenge doing an incredible job. We got to give the MVP to Ame for the pentakill, obviously. That was absolutely incredible there. So much damage coming out, and this is what we wanted to see, a bottom lane that really popped off, and it did take to the later half of the game, which generally isn't the case. It's kind of hard to recover on kills for that. Taking a quick look at the bracket, though, as you know, if you've been watching the last couple of games, Limit Testers beat Gay Mercenaries and made it to the finals bracket, and just now we saw Sailor Scouts get taken down by Your Nightmares. So this week's final bracket, we have a very exciting game, Limit Testers going up against Your Nightmares. What, okay, if you were, Limit Testers, just because we've seen today more games from Your Nightmares being the first and the third, advice, do you have anything to tell them based on what we have seen from these guys?
No, I'm so nervous for this game. Let me tell you. Also, we were talking about notes earlier. I have one page of notes that has a couple different teams on it, and for some reason, I have Limit and Your Nightmares again on one page. Fight of the Century. I'm so nervous because the last one ended so abruptly. And I don't have any advice because
it was so even.
It was 100 gold. You pointed it out when they won. You're like, that was 100 gold. I don't understand.
Insane.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. And 100 gold is like what? 3 minions? It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
Ugh.
no, it isn't, and it could have gone in favor of either team, but just like we saw with this previous game here, your Nightmares, instead of going for Baron, for instance, they decide, okay, we're going to take the game right now. Last game, the same kind of thing happened. There was a fight that ended up going in last game, and I say this if you guys didn't catch last week's, the finals was your Nightmares against Limit Testers. So we're seeing a little bit of a replay, but a different style kind of coming from both of these teams. But it was a very similar instance where they I think they were maybe one inhibitor tower in on the base, and they decided after a victorious fight, hey, we've got 20, 25 seconds. We have the ability to do this. And that was a little bit of a longer game. I think it went over 30 minutes in terms of that guy, but still, it's tough to determine. Of all the teams we have seen, Limit Testers is the one that is going to be capable of standing up to these guys because they were this close to holding their own and being able to potentially turn things. But it's going to be a tough road to get there for sure. We are going to take a quick break. I think I need to breathe for half a moment after. I'm pretty sure I lost my voice just from that pentakill play-by-play. Going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere where you're going to be seeing Limit Testers playing against your Nightmares for the finals in this week's Supergirl Gamer Pro Tournament.
I never thought I'd feel this way.
No, don't hold on to me.
It's all worth it.
Ladies, Chris.
I hear that's really bad for you.
What? No, this is about finding true love.
No, I mean the screen.
Oh, no, we're all good there. These Zenny lenses, they block the blue light.
I mean, that's still really bad for you.
This is amazing. Please go away.
Chelsea.
Oh, no, don't pick her. Oh.
So I'm gonna hold on promoting you this quarter. Cool?
Drop the taco. Get in the car. Does this Sentra feel like a compromise to you?
Wait, what?
The handling, it's good, right? No compromise there.
Nope. Watch this.
Rear automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra isn't going to compromise, why should you? You're right. Atta girl.
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class.
It's not just the ships, the armor, or the aircraft. It's something more. It's the will to fight and determination to win, found inside each and every Marine that answers a nation's call. Battles won.
Alrighty, that was an intense game. I don't know if that was long enough of a break for me, but it doesn't matter because we're going to be going into the finals now to follow this one up. You guys are just tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Supergirl Gamer Pro Tournament. This is week 3. We got another 6 weeks after this. Feel free to sign up if you think you can take these guys on. But after that game, I don't know who would be willing to pick up that keyboard and controller in response to it. One team that I would say could hold their own would be Limit Testers, who are going to be facing your Nightmares here in the finals. Second week in a row. The exact same matchup last week, and they held their own, only a 100 gold difference, ending up going over to your Nightmares after a 30-plus minute game. So we will be seeing exactly how things go down. I already asked you, Kari, what you think in terms of the capabilities of what you can do against these guys. Limit Testers, luckily, because they've been able to hold their own against this team, clearly they have more of an insight than we do, because there's no way to ban these guys out. There's too deep of a champion pool for them. And so in terms of a composition, what do you think would work well against the style that these guys have been playing of this heavy aggro, very high burst damage?
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking against your Nightmares, right? You have to find the weak link. There's no other option. Like you can't build against it. You gotta find a weak link there, right? And I would have historically said go for bot lane. Just farm bot lane for kills. That would have been, because especially these games have been very top focused, that would have been my advice one game earlier. And now we had Ame pop off on that Vayne. I understand now why in that earlier game that your Nightmares played, Vayne got banned out. I understand that now. That makes sense. And now I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do other than like watch yourself. You have to control yourself. A lot of the, it's funny, the plays against your Nightmares have not necessarily been manufactured by your Nightmares. It's been manufactured by the teams themselves. They're sabotaging themselves by they'll put an investment into something and your Nightmares will bet on them cashing in on that investment, like jungle ganks that are not good, and them doing it anyway. You have to understand that if it isn't a good investment, just back out. Let them have a dragon. It seems like your Nightmares has kind of mastered that as well. Like with Ame giving away strategic kills to a support, you have to know when to die in this game. Otherwise, you're not doing your job. And your Nightmares also has that down. And it seems like other teams don't necessarily have the self-control to keep up with that. And so it's honestly master the mind, right? That's what you've got to do. You've got to really master yourself and make sure that you don't do impulsive things, because as we saw in that last game, as they started to fall apart, you start to recognize a pattern that they wanted to take all those objectives. They were goaded into these team fights. They dangle the carrot in front of them and then they take it away. And I kept saying, I was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, and it just kept happening, and it's nobody's fault, but we're gonna go into Champ Select actually. I'm so nervous, Jolly. What do you think? What advice would you give to limit testers to try to mitigate what feels like psychological warfare?
I think we've seen a couple of Ornn bans. I think maybe Ornn would be a good selection in terms of good damage, but also, a tankier side. So going into your Nightmares, they have high damage, but also the capabilities to come back if they do get trounced on a little bit early on. The Jax, the Vi being very capable of building a tankier route. Vi a little bit more difficult, but they're going really heavy damage dealers, really heavy engagers, and maybe it is a long game kind of thing that you want to go with here. So we'll see what happens in terms of the picks and bans. I will say last week, we saw these guys in the finals, both Limit Testers and Your Nightmares. This is a swap in terms of colors, of sides. So Limit Testers last week was on red, Your Nightmares is on blue. So far all day today, though, Your Nightmares has been playing very, very successfully on the red side. And again, that's not, such a huge deal, but for a lot of these pug teams, they do struggle if they haven't played together as 5-man teams on specific sides. To maybe change their objective goals and things like that, or even vision is something that can kind of dwindle if you're used to playing more on blue and you're on red. But yeah, I'd like to see something like an Ornn maybe. I'd like to see a little bit more tank, to be honest, going into Your Nightmares just to prevent those really early kills.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. I think a little bit of safety and control, locking it down and trying to just. The thing of the matter, it feels to me like maybe control is the name of the game. You wanna catch your Nightmares in these little mason jars and just hold them down until you can find some sort of advantage. Like at least their ADC on Limit Tester's side absolutely is capable of carrying a game. Luckman has shown in that last game, although this is only our second game ever observing this person, that they are capable of controlling a map very well. So I'm excited to see how that how that pans out. I know I'm always excited about everything. I'll stop talking about how excited I am, but...
Oh, no, this is a very exciting set of games, especially, after seeing our first pentakill here of the tournament, and only in week 3 with, double that left to go here. I'm worried about the bottom lane for Limit Testers, I'm not going to lie. Elise and Pistachio have been doing a fantastic job, and they did get banned out the Ezreal and the Lulu, which has seemed to be one of their favorites in terms of pickups, and definitely Elise's favorite ADC. We've seen Elise play Ezreal a lot. Now, Your Nightmares kind of expected that because the Ezreal and the Lulu there were banned out. So instead of focusing the top and the jungle, they feel confident enough to say, all right, we're going to make sure that Ame can do what happened last game, that Clorox on the Rocks is able to provide the support needed for these teams here. Not an Ornn, unfortunately. We're not going to see that locked in. The first pick here for Limit Testers is going to be the Volibear.
We have seen that to everybody's detriment, unfortunately, with Your Nightmares. We've had a number of really good Volibear picks, and they have not panned out very well for teams that have gone against your Nightmares. The Anivia pick was incredibly good for Solaris Revenge, and I think that that's honestly a great first pick. That's a very important one to get out there. You're not planning to counter pick this Volibear. I get the feeling that your Nightmares is not even really worried about picks and bans at this exact moment. They're just prioritizing mid, whereas before they were trying to counter ban for bot and mid. So now they don't even care at this point, it looks like, as far as counter picks go. But I really like the Nocturne pick. I know you're a big fan of Nocturne style of gameplay, and I'm excited. I love those world ults too. Let's just talk about how fun and dramatic that is every single time. We can see the map, but they can't. What kind of panic as far as psychological warfare goes? Nocturne is one that can bait people and outsmart them, and it's rough. It is super rough. So things are looking kind of grim here, but the picks and the bans are coming out. I do like to see that Jax ban, although that does feel vaguely reactionary based on the last game. I don't think Sign Me Up has any lack of trying or a pool that they can't pick from. And banning to Alpha Male Jungler, probably a good idea. She's absolutely out of control. So
yeah, and actually, you know what? Flex picks potentially would be a very good idea as well here. That might be probably the best response. And I'm such a big fan of flex picks. I'm surprised that wasn't my instant reaction. That hasn't been my recommendation here on out. Because flex picks can allow your enemy team to at least compose something that they think is going to counter what you have. And then in the long run, you at least have an upper hand in one or even more lanes. But even an upper hand in one lane is going to be a big deal against your Nightmares with how detrimental they've been towards other teams, just really being able to build up anything. Sign Me Up, picking up the Fiora. And if I'm not mistaken, let me take a quick look here at the last game. Yes, last week, your Nightmares going to Limit Testers. Sign Me Up did play the Fiora and did a spectacular job. We had the Nocturne. Oh my god, they're playing the exact same comp. They are playing the exact same comp. Ashe and Lulu are the last remaining options here at this point. Fiora, Nocturne, Anivia, Ashe, and Lulu is what they went up against Limit Testers with. And prior, Limit Testers has completely changed up their composition. Previously, they went Wukong, Zac, Ahri, Jhin, and Karma. So, you know, this potentially could work out well for them if they do decide to go with the entire same composition up against something completely different. But stylistically, it feels kind of similar.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Good ban on the Vayne there. We did see that. These are two very reactionary games, so I would say very safely that Limit Testers did watch the last game. They're aware of what happened, and I wouldn't say this is a struggle, though. Limit Testers was incredibly formidable in the last game that they had against your Nightmares. Again, we cannot emphasize enough the 100 gold disparity between these two teams, which I'm going to lead in really quick here to the fact that people should sign up and they should play, because these are two incredibly formidable teams that I'm honestly going to say it would be incredible to play against because they both have clear strategies, and at this point you've seen them play. It would be fun to get into the rough and tumble of it. Definitely try to put together a team if you can. Ame on the Ashe there.
There it is, 4 out of 5.
Love that. Yep, we do love that. Although the Vayne was an exciting pick and they got to live their moment in the sun with that.
Definitely banned out, though. Definitely banned out there by Limit Testers. And kind of curious in terms of your Nightmares, I almost wonder if it's like BM banning here. The Kennen, you know, being a top laner here. I mean, slightly flexible, but the Wukong primarily, you know, at this point would be a jungle ban if that's their selection. So maybe something that they just don't like to go up against it, and Wukong in the jungle, that might be something to potentially look forward to or use against them in the future there. But it is actually going to be, it appears, well, we'll end up seeing. It could be a Vladimir jungle. I would not be surprised if Luckman has a couple of these pocket picks. But that is also a great flex pick. So, you know, I would have preferred to see it a little bit earlier on if that is the case. It may also just be to counter your Nightmares' current composition right now. We'll see if they've locked it in with the Lulu. That would be 5 of 5, same composition that your Nightmares took against Limit Testers last week in the finals and were very successful with.
What do you think our last pick's going to be here? You think we're going to get Blitzcrank?
They did not.
Next best thing, Nautilus.
Right? 4 out of 5 in terms of that. Hey, they said, okay, we're going up against the Thresh. Might be a little bit more difficult if one of us does get caught out. Caitlyn also acknowledged as one of the safer ADCs. She has immense range. That headshot can do a ridiculous amount of damage, and then her ultimate as well, being able to pick somebody out. So having a Lulu stand in front of the ultimate as opposed to, a Nautilus is a little more risky. So going to the slightly safer route there, a great selection in picking the support as the final option there. And we'll see exactly how this rounds out in terms of Limit Testers playing. Yeah, well, we'll see, because there is a tiny bit of flexibility here in this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that Ashe-Caitlyn matchup. I think that's going to be the same pattern of quote-unquote chill lanes that we've seen before, because these two have very long range. They have a lot of respect. They're going to rely on their supports to have all the action. Their only jobs, Ame and Elise, is to be in position when they do land that hook. So watching these ADCs position themselves for these picks will be vital here, and I'm really excited to actually see how well they do to follow up on any catches that their supports make, if at all, honestly. We may not even see that, because these are both teams that have proven that they don't really need to get caught out at all in bot lane. They're patient.
Oh, and they've got the fancy footwork as well to follow it up. Now, I might be kind of concerned if this Volibear for Luckman going in the jungle doesn't get an early lead. He does have potential to, okay, there it is. That is the official lock-in. So he does have the potential to, pick things up towards the later game if they do fall behind. And there is a lot more tank on this team in the overall, much more tank than we've seen in the past. Vladimir gets very tanky. Same thing with Luckman. And Pistachio, obviously, on the Thresh is going to be going nothing but that. So a lot more opportunity for survivability in a lot of these fights. And I do like the Vlad going into the Fiora here. A lot of potential to engage, disengage, and do a ton of burst damage to somebody who's planning on doing the exact same thing to you. I'm just a little concerned about Luckman here. I do love the, the mirror for Luckman and alpha male jungle. I hope both of them are females. That's, fingers crossed. We obviously know alpha male jungle is a girl. But Luckman seems a little less obvious, if you will, I suppose.
Definitely. I'm the composition of these teams has been so exciting, because we have our own assumptions and our own biases, which is why this tournament exists in the first place, is to challenge those and to help us kind of, come up with a different line of thought and break the status quo. And I've loved watching you and I both speculate as to the gender of certain players and then come out surprised, because not only is it the highest compliment that, oh shoot, we were wrong, like it also helps us in our daily lives not underestimate women in gaming. And it's something, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody's raised with their own biases, but this tournament exists specifically to help us unlearn all of that stuff. And I'm absolutely delighted and kind of honored to be a part of this, especially because we have had such a grand time, such a goofy time with all of these very well-mannered, big personality teams too. I always pop in and kind of glance at Twitch chat, and I love to see the support that everybody's garnered and all of the social aspects of it there. But I definitely think I'm really excited for the top lane more than anything. I love to see this. This sign me up. Irelia, Fiora, Lilia, I guess, has always been really aggressive and really fun, but Vlad is not to be underestimated, not to be I mean, you can't 1v1ing a Vlad if you are behind in the lane is not going to go well, so Sign Me Up really has to maintain control of that lane. Who do you think Luckman and Alpha Male Jungle are going to target? Is it each other? Is it other lanes? What are you thinking?
I feel like now, with just what we've seen the past couple of games, the safety net kind of set in both the bottom lane and for Limit Testers, at least in terms of the top lane, a lot safer of a lane there. I'm going to assume that focus is now going to be on the mid here. It can really be anywhere, because my expectations of this have not panned out whatsoever. I don't think I've been right about any of those assumptions in where the laning phase is really going to take place. But I do see more focus towards the mid. We see how much love Solari's Revenge has, whether it's the viewers or whether it's just the overall KD and how much pressure Solari's Revenge has been able to provide here. Having played very well on the Anivia before as well means that that's going to be a big focus for them. But the Nocturne has so much opportunity to go wherever he pleases. He's got a lot of a chance to really interfere with whichever lanes he chooses. I would love to see some early stuff in the bottom lane, though. It's been slightly lackluster in terms of just early aggression, early kills, things like that. More of that island lane. Later game, we know that Ame can prove something, so maybe that is also another potential, that looking down for at least the Volibear here on Luckman, looking down towards that bottom lane, prevent Ame from getting anywhere. Though, we're going to prevent anyone, it's got to be Solari's Revenge.
Yeah, you're right. You know, there's so many giants in these games. There's so many notable players that I didn't forget about Solaris Revenge, but I just didn't think about it because, you know, everybody is so formidable. Everybody's really had their time in the sun. If you think about it, every single player, including their supports, have had their time to shine. And adaptability is the name of the game, and we are in it to win it. I'm so excited. Again, remember, 100 gold disparity. Nobody has this in the bag, but it looks like your Nightmares is doing that invade.
Oh my gosh!
Doing a reverse invade. That's adorable.
I love it.
Look at that
Both on the bottom side of the map, but either one going towards the top or the bottom side of that dragon pit. And your Nightmares actually potentially acknowledging, no, they're going to sit in this safety bush, potentially put a little ward down. No, they're going to make their way back. Neither team is really sticking with this aggression, deciding that they want to try to take a buff. Probably a smart move, because if one had decided to stay, they may have had the vision advantage there. But both of these teams have the opportunity to give quite a bit of burst and a little bit of CC in the start of a fight. So no vision placed down, really actually on either side from what I am seeing, which is a little bit surprising there. Oh, no, we did. All right, we got some wards. We got some wards laid out.
All right. Hey, you can't go that far into the enemy's jungle if you don't leave a ward. Shame on you.
I know. That was my thought behind it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this, the Supergirl Gamer Pro Week 3. This is the finals game. This is a competitive video game series, and it's dedicated to just supporting women in gaming. So this is, made to be a platform for female gamers and also to help inspire more women to take a larger role within esports. So thank you so much for supporting the group and tuning into our channel. You have a big opportunity to participate in this. We also do CSGO on Fridays as well as Hearthstone on Sundays. So go ahead and head to the website supergirlgamerpro.com or follow on Instagram or Twitter at SGGamerPro.
Yeah, you love to see it. This tournament has been really important, I think. To all of us, to everybody playing. Everybody's had a really good time, but more than that, we've watched all of these players grow, change their strategies, really try to grow as players too. I've seen so much improved gameplay from both sides. And it looks like right now we're probably going to have a longer game. I hope we do have a longer game because the last one ended on such an upstart, such a crazy upstart, that it would be shocking if that happened again, especially because they know how to mitigate that now. Don't participate in team fights over objectives that you can't win. Don't do it. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how safe they attempt to go, or if they do, limit testers, I suppose, as I was kind of recommending maybe a little bit of a safer role, and that's somewhat what they've taken based on the composition, but if they want, they can still be very aggressive about this. We'll see if they continue on with that. Again, I think the difficult part of this might be Luckman up against Alpha Male Jungler here in the jungle side of things. And I want, come on guys, we gotta get some bot lane action. We gotta get some early bot lane action down here. I want to see one of these ADCs pop off and get another penta. that would be my dream at this point.
We have tasted blood, and as casters, once we see that bot lane blood come out, it's hard not to want more, especially because, you know, ADCs, for all of the jokes that we've made, they are the only ones really fully committed to those flashy pentas and that flashy gameplay style, and we got everything we wanted out of that last game, and I want to see more. Ame, what are you doing? What do we have to pay you to do something crazy? But within the strategy, of course, as is on brand for your Nightmares. It's still, I would like to see that. We have these dynamic hooks on both sides as well that are always liable to cause a mess. If you aren't standing directly behind your minion, you usually get caught out, and such is the case with two very skilled teams. I would love to see it. We've had a few musty trades here for Ame. At least knows, especially after the last game, hey listen, you're not in control of this lane. You may have had a pentakill in your last game, but I'm gonna lock you out of farm as much as I can, and there is that small farm disparity. I like the revenge. I like trying to put them in their place on Elisa's side. Smart strategy, but I don't think anything can take Ame down from the high that they're likely on, especially after that last game.
Oh no, and it is, you know, it's more difficult for sure to get the pentakill on somebody like the Ashe.
Yeah,
Vayne is certainly one, you know, that is known for that, but hey, that was ADC's thing just a couple years ago, was that that was the lane. If there was a pentakill, it's going to be coming from that. It started towards the mid lane, went down to towards the bottom lane, and so we saw Ame pop off, get exactly what she wanted out of this. Now has a little less opportunity for the boost from somebody like the Fae Sorceress, you know, from the Lulu there. A move on to Clorox on the Rocks, hopping onto the Nautilus. So just safer in the overall, and I like to see it. That means that these teams are actually afraid of, you know, both of them know that the other team has the potential to take them down. So I do like seeing Your Nightmares, as well as they've been doing, picking a relatively safe comp here.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Limit Testers, sniffing out a gank here. Rocks on the Rocks gets absolutely hooked by Thresh's hook, and they are in it, but they do not seal the deal. It was a good attempt, and again, like I've said before, these early ganks very rarely are about kills. They're about taking pressure off, so that you can continue to capitalize on that lead. And we've got some action here on the top lane with Fiora, just doing some trades here with Sign Me Up and Dang. Do you think the Invictus skin is a flex on Sign Me Up's side?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's so many of those skins. Ooh, Pistachio trying to get something in here. I do think, actually, the headshot gonna make it. Sign Me Up getting the first blood on the other side, though. There is a retaliation from Your Nightmares down here. Nobody's gonna get taken down. I do wonder if in that first fight there, when we saw Luckman come down bottom, Elise right at the, well, I guess towards the middle, toward the end of that, used the net to escape from that fight and ended up potentially losing themselves a kill as the exhaust immediately went down there. So, maybe a potential misplay there, but hey, a survivability also. Now, Sign Me Up having the advantage in this lane is not a good start for this Vladimir. Having counter-picked this and having more survivability and more opportunity to escape from someone like Fiora. So, you know what? Maybe it is a flex. Maybe that is a flex specifically because they know, hey, you might have the winning lane, but I'm the winning player.
Yeah, and Sign Me Up is known for their very aggressive playstyle. I remember that Fiora run into the base in one of their very first games and just being a little bit stunned by the absolute boldness of Sign Me Up's playstyle. Dang would be well, just not to match that, especially after the last game. Don't worry about it, just try and farm. Mind your own business. Don't 1v1 this Fiora right now. Not a good time. Wait for an opportunistic time to worry about that duel. It was very exciting watching them try to get that Ame kill for first blood and not quite even sealing the deal, and then seeing that happen on the top lane with Sign Me Up. It's good to get that objective though, to try to offset that death there. Again, reactions, etc., etc. You've heard us say it before. When there is a fight, when resources are on one side of the map, it's the other team's prerogative to try and focus their resources elsewhere or in retaliation. And that was a good one. Yeah, really, really nice plays all around.
It does feel nice for Limit Testers there, getting the Infernal Drake to start things off as well. That's going to help that Vladimir out quite a bit top lane, and also help with the poke down bottom here from Elise on that Caitlyn. Again, having the range, but that counter engage or disengage there from Clorox on the Rocks means that still safety is the #1 priority in these matchups. Loving the vision though, and there was a ping out acknowledging by the Nocturne, or sorry, not the Nocturne, Clorox on the Rocks on the Nautilus that, hey, they did put a ward down over here. No sweeper available from him, as the only one is on the jungles at the moment, but the acknowledgement that is there is at least helpful, and he's going to throw down a ward in response.
I love to see Limit Testers' vision presence on the map is exactly what we were hoping for to try to mitigate your nightmares. That vision is going to be essential to their success, and they are clearly taking that to heart and doing everything they can to lock alpha male jungler out of their side of the map. and even try and capitalize on these little mistakes here. Alpha male jungler, not quite sure what happened there, how they were seen, but deciding to go in on Shelly anyway, despite knowing that Luckman is aware of that. His top is pushed in. He can't help him mitigate the damage here on Shelly either. So it's a fairly safe bet, although nothing's safe in this game in particular. But the attempt to try and at least stop them while Dang
Stormbringer is going to
top.
come down, though, from Luckman. Blue team has stolen the Rift Herald on that engage. Now Luckman is trying to disengage here. The Vladimir using the Hemo Plague on the backline. Luckman going to take down Alpha Male Jungler. Solari's Revenge instantly getting that retaliation. And Dang finally getting down on that Fiora. So 1-1-0 in the top lane. A very solid play by Limit Testers and a successful one for them.
You think that Sign Me Up maybe auto-pathed down to Shelly and forgot that they were in lane with Dang? It seems like a silly thing to have happen there, but I love to see this lane even out. That feels very, very good on the side of Dang. Attempted to go down and help Luckman, even though Luckman knew that he was in for the, you're dying for the objective, and that is okay. And he did get the Eye of the Herald there, but Dang happened to just even the odds there by snagging that kill with Fiora from Sign Me Up. I'm not 100% sure if Sign Me Up had cooldowns. It seemed like that was something that Dang was able to capitalize on.
I think it was a heavy engage, too, from
Yeah.
Sign Me Up there. Dang was able to use the Sanguine Pool after throwing down the Hemo Plague and, escape any of the follow-up that might be there. So even if cooldowns were down, you can't do much when that Vladimir is in the Sanguine Pool. So I think, really, I saw it as, granted, we saw I guess half of the fight because the screen was kind of split between the two of them. But it looked like a fantastic response there as Sign Me Up tried to heavily engage on that. Now, Your Nightmares does have some vision on that bottom side, as well as towards the top in the Baron pit, or the Rift Herald pit. Sign Me Up now says, hey, Dang, your Hemo Plague is down right as it comes back up. So the Hemo Plague does go down. The flash over the wall from the Vladimir, and the Hemo Plague's not going to be enough to do it for Sign Me Up, but it does give Dang a little bit more health in that aspect, and that's going to be 2 flashes down on the top lane. Oh, and then another engage! We got Pistachio now throwing the Ignite. The box comes out. Nautilus does get pulled into that. A solid flash away from Ame means that she's not going to be hit with one of the walls of that box and will leave with her life. But that is a 1-for-0 in favor of Limit Testers.
Yeah, and we know Luckman, if they get a lead, they make really certain to capitalize on that. Definitely are ahead as far as items and money go, but it's not by a huge margin. And Clorox on the Rocks was not the target there, the prize. They want to shut down Ame, but they haven't made a lot of moves, so it's okay. It's a kill is a kill, and that one's on Luckman, one of their star players as well. Dang is also exercising a lot of patience here with Sign Me Up. Really trying this time not to have the same pitfalls in lane that they did with Sion.
Oh, that is going to be rough right there, hitting the second tower. They got full plate on that first tower as we still have a little over a minute left before those plates fall. And being able to take down that backside is quite helpful. On the other end of the Summoner's Rift, Dang is going to be working on some plates up in that tower, and again, the vision from Your Nightmares is solid, but it's not going to be enough to prevent Limit Testers from picking up their second dragon of the game, and hey, they've got a pretty heavy advantage now at this point.
Yeah, I don't like that Ashe vision, that W. It just, you just watch them take the objective. That hurts, that's painful. Why did you have to do that to your team? But we do have some action with Sign Me Up, and Dang. Dang has been making these very finessed plays, the same kind of gameplay we saw with Sion. These close calls, trying to goad them into engages. It takes a lot of prowess to be able to do that kind of mathematical work with the cooldowns, the amount of damage you can do, plus their items to do. Dang has actually proven themselves to be a very good duelist. And I love watching this, as well as Sign Me Up. I mean, both of them have a really great 1v1, interesting to watch. But definitely Luckman made a good decision to die for that Herald. It has made a huge difference, a giant hole there in the side of Your Nightmares.
Yeah, it gives them a little bit of extra gold. The disparity is still not very high, though, considering a good job of your Nightmares to keep focus on maintaining that lane pressure. We can see a little bit of a swap occur here now. I did see the Thresh towards the top side. Now the Caitlyn is going to add a little bit of pressure here as the Vladimir heads down bottom. Sign me up. Gonna try to jump on this Caitlyn. The Doctor, though, going to bring the darkness in. Sign me up, picking up that elimination. The Crystalline Arrow just barely missing. The box comes out and slows these guys down enough for Pistachio to be able to flash out, and he is going to survive with his life there. Now 3 members of your Nightmares putting pressure here on the top lane. It's a little too late to pick up plates, but never too late to take the tower.
A great way to turn that extra pressure from getting those towers. Bot lane rotating to top. But your Nightmares being very adequately prepared. They knew those towers were down. They knew that that manpower was going to be allocated somewhere, and they were there to answer the call and even try and turn it around. A very great answer to the problem of those missing turrets on bot lane, but unfortunately also frees up Dang to make a little bit more of a risk there in bot.
Oh man, Solari's Revenge able to get the elimination there. Ace in the hole is gonna throw down onto that Resurrecting Anivia, so Solari's Revenge is gonna go down, and the stun follows through onto Alpha Male Jungler. He's gonna use the Smite to get a little bit of slow and pick up a double kill there. Likely won't be able to leave with his life, and Ame now has the turn on to Elise. So much damage there, but a great stun lock. At least lets Elise escape from this fight. And
Really?
W there from the Fiora is going to mean that she's able to re-engage after getting a stun down onto Dopamine, but not enough there. Dopamine
Light
goes
wins
down.
over darkness. That was not the duel I was expecting. A Lux and Fiora. Interesting decisions on Sign Me Up's part, but it is okay. Although limit testers are proving that they want to rush this, they are taking these towers for all they're worth and opening your Nightmares up to quite a mess. They're making sure that your Nightmares knows we are here to take these objectives and close the deal as fast as possible. You have made mistakes. Your previous win may have given you a false sense of security. I doubt that's the case. This game is still extremely close. Despite the disparity in objectives, the gold is still indicative of a very close game. All it takes is one mistake on the part of one team.
Down goes one member. Elise taking out Solari's Revenge to start things off. No pass and no rebirth available on that one. A flash out from Dang and Sign Me Up. Gonna take him down there. Luckman having to back out of this one. Pistachio gonna take the aggression from the enemy team. A hook is going to miss from Clorox. He does hit the wall, so he's able to drag himself closer. And the flash immediately over at an attempt from Sign Me Up to re-engage on that fight. Won't be enough. A great route there onto Clorox, and Ace in the hole is going to be stopwatched. No kill there for Elise. A great push there and a response from your Nightmares. A 2-for-1 in favor of the red side.
Solaris not loath to die. Absolutely did the best that they could, but got caught out. Alpha Male Jungler walks away with the Eye of the Herald, the second one for this game, hoping to turn the tide. I like to see those objectives flip-flop, and it looks like your Nightmares is actually setting up for Dragon now, but will not go uncontested as limit testers make their way over there as well. Your Nightmares does need a Dragon. It is high time. A tower or two would also be nice, but these are the objectives that these teams are pushing. Again, with the reactions, if they can close this one, they will close the gold disparity a little more. Your Nightmares can lock down this Dragon. Hopefully that does happen in their favor, but we can only sit here and wonder because they're both evenly matched in terms of kills, gold, team fights. It comes down to who can kite who gets the picks. Picks aren't super common in the games with these teams because they don't really make those mistakes.
You have Shelly in the pocket there of Alpha Male Jungler. A solid stun on the Pistachio is going to take quite a bit of damage on this one. The rest of your Nightmares following it up. The Crystalline Arrow is going to find out Luckman, and the hook will follow it up there. The Stormbringer, though, is the response from limit testers. The Lux ultimate is going to take one of them down. The Fiora is going to respond there to remove Volibear. Alpha Male Jungler does take down Pistachio in the meantime. And oh my gosh, Sign Me Up finding another elimination. Solari's Revenge actually picking that one up. It's going to continue on. Sign Me Up taking down the ADC and now the mid laner. That is a 5-for-2 in favor of your Nightmares. This is going to allow them the pressure to push.
It's just like a reverse tumble here. This is the exact same thing that happened 5 minutes ago. with Limit Testers using that objective distraction, but this time they won't be getting a dragon, they'll be losing towers. Your Nightmares is trying to even the score here by pushing the shortest lane and trying to make it happen, trying to make these towers count. And also scooping up this dragon that they desperately needed and get the more map dominance that they were focused on. Vision is still in the hands of Limit Testers, and that makes sense. But this game is slowly turning back to the other side. This is the exact same ebb and flow we saw in the last game. And I definitely am nervous. I don't feel like we've had any sort of let up of tension. Everybody has been on their game. We have seen one team make a mistake, another team make a mistake, kind of like that last team fight, a domino effect of they get a kill, they get a kill, they get a kill, and then the tide turns the other way, and that's just kind of the theme of this whole thing right now. Some things on top there for your Nightmares with Dang really pushing that tower and trying to get that last one out of the way so that he can be free of his torment.
I think a lot of the pressure, too, that we're seeing from your Nightmares on the other side is while Limit Testers had a lot of successful fights, a lot of victorious engages there, they did not pick up nearly as much as your Nightmares did in that one push. They got 3 charges off on Shelly after being successful in that fight. While Limit Testers may have seen success in fights like that, they haven't quite gotten the push advantage that we just saw a second ago. And now Luckman is going to test his luck here. Nope, they realize that it is going to be a 3v2, so they're going to back away from this one.
Yeah, lots of pings on the map. Everybody is aware of where everyone else is. There's really no mystery of what's going on, except that Solaris is heading down bot in an apparent sort of mid-gank for Elise and Pistachio, hoping to kind of either take the pressure off for Sign Me Up or get an extra kill. Not 100% sure what's going on down there. They've backed out.
Poor alpha male jungler on this one as well, having so much prowess previously on... Ooh. Nice attempt at stopping that recall, but it didn't go through, just a little too late. But alpha male jungler 1, 3, and 6 on this Nocturne, who was so devastating, really, not much paranoia being felt by the Limit Testers from this Nocturne quite yet. Nocturne is one where it's a little bit difficult to recover on him. You have so much potential to get taken down if you respond a little too early, if you engage a little too late. So a tricky situation that alpha male jungler is in, but your Nightmares, again, really just gaining so much off of these successful fights that it may not come down to alpha male jungler's play right now.
Yeah, in previous maps we've seen your Nightmares controls the map by letting the other team make these bad engages, and now both of these teams are circled around objectives. Nobody's making particularly bad calls, and now they're just letting the objectives rule the map, and they're trying to both gathering there and trying to size each other up. And again, nobody's making particularly bad calls. It kind of almost comes down to who has the better fight at the end of the day. And it looks like Sign Me Up, a duelist at heart, is really trying to get these kills. We remember that Aurelia that they ran into base. Lasagna's hourglass absolutely comes in the air
away for the crystalline arrow. That was insane. The fancy footing. You're talking about the duelist. That is the master duelist right there on Fiora. So playing the heavy duelist, playing maximum duelist, a flash in. Paranoia's finally coming out. Sign Me Up able to take down the Stormbringer there on the back end. And a great hook from Clorox on the rocks is going to allow this re-engage. Exhaust going on to Pistachio. Survivability is massive here, and he's got it backed up right now with Elise and Dopamini. Solari's Revenge now trying to hit this backline, but the respawn or the rebirth has been popped there. That is going to be a dead bird, unfortunately, for them. Dang, picking up the elimination. A triple kill for him there as he continues to fight on the backline. Elise taking down Solari's Revenge in the meantime, and that is going to be a 4-for-1. They're trying to decide whether they want to engage on this Baron here. Likely, they are going to. They don't have Luckman. He has just respawned, so we'll try to engage here, but they do have potentially enough time. How much damage will they take in the meantime? The Hemo play coming out onto this Fiora. The hook landing. Sign Me Up getting the takedown on that.
Absolute finesse displayed by Elise on the kiting there. That was key. That Fiora saw the triple kill. Sign Me Up had it in their eyes. They were ready to clean up there, but Elise was not going to have it, was not going to be one of those helpless ADCs. Used that net on Sign Me Up, kited them into oblivion. A very good fight, a lot of finesse there by both sides. Good calls. It could have gone either way. Sign Me Up couldn't possibly have seen that net on cooldown, huh?
Right. Well, that and the flash was actually expended as well there.
Oh, that's right,
so,
yep.
Yeah, the flash being used in place of that net on cooldown. You only want to use it if you have to here. Now, your Nightmares are going to try to take another advantage in their hand. They are a little bit behind in gold, and they likely want to have a response play on this one as opposed to engaging on it, as the Fiora and the Nocturne are on the other side of the map. At the moment, Limit Tester is going to take advantage of that and begin their engages. They have 4 members here pressuring, while Vladimir is in the mid lane, and that is going to be a very quick drag for them as they engage on the back line here. The box is going to come out. Crystalline Arrow on the back line. Sign Me Up to do as much damage as possible. Is going to pick up Pistachio there. Stormbringer coming out from the Vladimir, who goes down. The Lux ultimate as well to follow up. And Sign Me Up is taking so much damage from Elise here. They have to disengage at this point, though. Alpha Jungler actually attempting to engage here on the back line. Elise now the final member up against 4. They are very, very low. How much damage can she do? Enough to take down Anivia, that's for sure.
Nobody wanted to chase that Elise after the display that they can absolutely keep everything on lock, lay down those traps, put down those nets, and keep them from catching her. They knew it was not wise to chase Elise into the jungle despite missing 4 of their teammates in that team fight. Didn't want to pursue it. Probably a good idea on their end, and just kind of, keep the lead that they've got going. They were not successful in getting that dragon. It did seem like your Nightmares backed out and tried to do that classic team fight bait, but did not have every teammate there available to start the engage before the dragon was already gone. Although they did manage to pick up those 4 kills. We got a replay on that fight there. Got the box go up, and then you've got the Crystalline Arrow come in. You see Elise putting in the work. Ame eventually arrives, and then you've got Vlad on the back end. They're doing everything they can, but there's so much tankiness. Elise does manage to get the Fiora out, which is really what leads to the success here. Alpha Male Jungler is not enough to mitigate that Elise, but Solaris takes the hit, continues to chase at their own peril, and goes down to Elise, who has proven themselves to be quite the duelist. Yeah, the emote when they were running away. Like, oh, don't touch me!
The terrifying emote of, I may go down. What a great net hit was able to be capitalized on there from Elise, who's sitting at 5-2-6 now. Certainly helping out the rest of this team in terms of the overall kill spread, as we can see least amount of deaths and most amount of kills, or at least tied for most amount of kills. That is a good Thresh, who has been dying a lot for his ADC to stay alive, and also been at the forefront of most of these engages.
Yeah, you wear that like a badge of pride. Sometimes junglers end up in that position too. You don't end up reaping any kills, but you have a fair amount of deaths and then a bunch of assists. I think that those are the most admirable players. They're not chasing glory. They're not worried. They're not constantly tabbing to look at their score. They are there for their teammates, and they are going hard for them, regardless of personal glory. They are playing everything strategically sound. There is one ward in the Baron that they did not manage to get, but it doesn't look like this is anything but an attempt to create a team fight, but everybody's spread across the map. You've got that Fiora pushing, split pushing very hard, and unfortunately Dang, who has become a formidable opponent, has to dedicate his resources to that bot lane and stopping Sign Me Up from a very strong Fiora split push. Alpha Male Jungle might be in a bit of a pickle here, getting caught out by Luckman, but the Crystalline Arrow comes in and manages to slow that down on Luckman. They wanted that pick so bad, all 4 of them hiding in the bush, and didn't quite pan out the way they wanted. But they are going to start this Baron, which I don't know if I would recommend that there. But you can try.
As well by Alpha Male Jungler. Didn't actually end up using it in any way. I think it was just kept to see if they needed it to escape. Was not necessary there. They are going to begin the engage here. Luckman trying to find out another one, getting stunned down, and just bringing the storm here on this backline. The box coming out. Reaper is emerging and is immediately taken down for the Anivia. Some great hiding coming from Ame, but she gets hooked by the Thresh. The playback going to lead to her demise. The Clorox on the rocks can't even get close enough to that wall to flash over to the red buff. In the meantime, Alpha Male Jungler has, been focusing on this inhibitor in this bottom lane. Is now going to engage onto Dang, gets the flea. There's the fear that he wanted. She wanted. An alpha male jungler finds herself the first inhibitor of the game. That's going to give them the power bonus in the overall. But we have to keep in mind that that Baron is absolutely going to go down. It was a good response there. And hey, a second inhibitor actually going down. You know, that could have been a lot worse for your Nightmares. Even off unsuccessful fight, they end up somewhat trading a lead.
Yeah, that inhibitor, is it worth it? Is it worth 2 inhibitors to get that Baron? It means you can recover, but do you just end up back at square one because you yielded 2 inhibitors and your Baron is really just going to go to those super minions until they respawn? We are so close here. If you look at the gold, if you look at the kills, all they've done, really, even giving up those inhibitors, is even the odds. They're still in the same position they were. Your Nightmares will even the dragon total here by grabbing another Ocean Drake. It does look like Limit Testers wants to challenge it, but weren't necessarily in position to recover from the fact that they've lost 2 inhibitors. I think it was a very risky move, maybe putting a little too much emphasis on Baron, but gosh, at this point, I don't know what kind of calls are being made here fully behind the scenes, because it seems it's such a rapid pace. They're playing 4D chess before you and I even figure out what's going on the map. Something else has happened, and I think that this Baron is going to be a little bit of a reprieve for us. Let's talk about where the game's at. How are you feeling about it?
Oh my gosh, well, my throat hurts. I'll say that.
Yeah, same. Let me tell you. It's genuinely, like, so close. We can't stop ourselves from, like, every single minute there's something happening that's turning the tide of this game, and it is absolutely intense. But hey, sign me up on the bottom there. Split pushing again? That's gotta be irritating for Limit Testers.
It does, but she has to be very careful engaging here. The Ball Bears on the backside. They do find her out. The stun comes down. The E to follow it up. Spell Immune is going to lock down Luckman very, very slowly. And then Elise finds the ace in the hole to pick up that elimination. So a nice fed Caitlyn on their side, taking down the nice fed Fiora on your Nightmares.
The death counts are very high. This is the exact point in the last, well, a couple minutes above the point in the game where these small mistakes can cost you the entire game. Both teams are looking for a quick way to end it, and nothing so far has been able to pop up, but Sign Me Up does have a long death timer, so they're moving to mid to try to push that, knowing that it will be a 4v5, at least for another 20 seconds. So there's not a lot of recourse, because you can just become a pick very quickly, even under your own tower in a 4v5. So they're trying to get their revenge here using that Baron push.
Ooh, Luckman is now going to have to use the Stormbringer on the backline, taking quite a few tower shots here. Speaking of the back line, it looks like Dang is going to fall behind there. He gets ignited, but right uses the Zonia, so that feels all right. The Evo play going down at the beginning of that fight. Out comes the Paranoia. A good hook from Clorox. It's going to mean Thresh is the next to go down in this fight. But that Baron buff, they will likely be able to do a lot of damage onto this inhibitor. And I gotta point out, just because I've been noticing it quite a bit, I love this Caitlyn has been placing traps specifically on locations they know that your Nightmare's wards are at. So if they do decide to teleport in, Limit Testers has a moment or two to respond to them before anything happens, because you're going to be teleporting directly onto a trap.
Yeah, it's a nasty way to be, especially with 2 teleports on a team. This team is very heavy on their ability to coordinate, especially with these teleports. And so if they're aware of these wards and they just throw them in, it could be a trap. Again, your Nightmare seems to be the ones generally laying traps, but when you teleport in on one of those, it's a solid stun. You can't really do anything, plus they have vision on you. So it's very difficult for your Nightmares to fall into their same old tricks and pull the same thing when Limit Testers is aware of the way that they play, the way that they use these strategic teleports to just do stomps, and neither team is able to stomp here either, and that definitely is lending to the difficulty that your Nightmares is having with Limit Testers, because they are very vigilant about their vision. They're very vigilant about controlling the map, and you have said multiple times over the course of many games that this vision game is absolutely essential to winning against your Nightmares, and Limit Testers, they have their number, But do they have the raw skill? A lot of this is coming down to items too and builds. We're just looking at the same amount of gold on almost all sides here. Everybody's evenly matched. We do have 2 bounties on the side of Limit Testers, so Your Nightmares has the potential to close this gap very quickly. All things considered, they just need to manufacture the correct team fight, the correct pick, and the correct situation to make that happen. It does look like Sign Me Up is recalling, maybe potentially be a part of this engage, but gets interrupted.
Actually,
Right
you know,
there.
interrupts herself there as she finds an opportunity. Yeah, I mean, that was a very quick one. Fiora sitting in the bush, able to use the grand challenge. She had a lot of damage down onto Dang, who ended up expending his flash, as well as Sign Me Up in that fight. Good success, but that's not going to be one that's going to be able to close out the games. Clorox, though, does find a hook. There was an attempt at a follow-up engage there. The crystalline arrow coming through from Ame, not hitting anyone as Limit Testers very quickly disengage. They realize that if they lose a single fight where they end up losing 3 to 4 of their members, Your Nightmares is well in their base and can easily take the game. They have a little more pressure on their end as they don't have a single inhibitor down, just an inhibitor tower, but still that opposing potential if they're able to get a 4 or 5 man pickup here. And looks like Luckman is going to do a nice avoid there for some CC, signing up, being the first one to be picked out. Lux ultimate follow this up, and so much damage going down on Dang, or Luckman there on the back line, and a flash out was forced from Dopamini. And now Your Nightmares is looking to close this one out if they possibly can. At least push back and pick up a few more inhibitors, get closer to that base.
Yeah, definitely not the abrupt end that we were thinking about. Maybe it just depends on how they play this. Limit Testers really need to be careful. Another death that they yield means the end of the game for them, so they need to be especially careful with those death timers. But Your Nightmares can push. They can absolutely try to test their luck there, try to get some sort of kill. But Sign Me Up protecting that dragon to ensure that the initiative, or the objective, ended up in the hands of Your Nightmares. Just trying to distract them bots was a very solid play. It looks like we have something going on in the jungle here. It's them taking their jungle now, sweeping it open, closing the very minuscule gap between these teams right now. But good part on Limit Testers. You briefly mentioned that they know that a solid team fight, a sweep, ends the game at this point, at this juncture. 36 minutes is a relatively long game that we're seeing here. And so they decided not to give in, not participate in a bloody team fight, recoup their losses, and run back into their base. It's a very solid strategy. Good way to be there. Warding for Baron here. And of course, Your Nightmares is completely aware of that, trying to manufacture the same kind of situation where they can end the game. Neither of these teams are playing passive. They're not going back to their bases to lick their wounds. They are looking very actively to find that one team fight, to find that pick, to find some edge to end this game. And at this point, that's all you need. So trying to bait each other into different encounters. But at this point, they're just trying to clean up their base and eventually participate in one of those situations.
Might be trying to spot out Fiora down here. A couple pings coming out. A few question mark pings there in recognition that she may be alone. She also may not, as they don't have vision that far back. In the meantime, Your Nightmares focusing down the Baron. There were a few wards that were placed there, and a lot of things coming out from Your Nightmares specifically saying, hey, these guys may be moving up towards us. But no, even with that, Nautilus sitting down below in the bush to proxy in case Limit Testers does decide to engage. Sign Me Up, though, doing exactly what Fiora loves to do, just distracting the enemy team. This may not be the way that they want to go. They may get the elimination here, and they are going to lose a member in the process. They do take down the Fiora, but at what cost? As one member at least is now invading their base.
Yeah, they're closing in with that Baron buff. Maybe not the best idea. Sign Me Up has already done this twice in the game. They know better, but they would have also lost that potential inhibitor turret. So it's just anybody's game right now with the Nexus. They're closing in with that Baron buff. It's so tough to mitigate already with 2 of your inhibitors down. They're just trying to stay afloat now, especially with Sign Me Up, making sure to take their tank, their main tank, Luckman, with them.
That Hemoplague missing, the Crystalline Arrow on the other side from Ame missing there. That's okay, they accomplished what they wanted to, got pressure, and now have at least 2 exposed, if not taken down, inhibitors and a little bit of damage on that top lane. reigning supreme with 8 towers as opposed to 6 on the other side. So these fights have got to be really careful coming from Limit Testers. They do have the advantage in terms of gold, as slight as it is. They do have a lot of damage coming out from this Caitlyn, but it is so difficult to engage on these fights with someone like a Fiora, with someone like a Nocturne, a Nautilus on the other side to do much with Caitlyn. You have to be so safe and expect your entire team to take the front line for you.
With 3 Ocean Drakes too, closing the deal, sealing it is not great. It doesn't feel good. An Elder Drake would really help Limit Testers right about now, but that's not really in the cards. It might be, but not at this exact juncture. You do have Dragon coming up in 48 seconds, and...
Oh no!
Ooh, they're trying to punish them no matter what here. Even if they step out of their base, it's such a mess. It's really hard to control objectives when you have super minions. Sometimes with Baron buff knocking at your door, it makes it very difficult to prioritize. It also makes it difficult to defend your base. As you can see, Sign Me Up here trying to do that split push, which again, maybe the 3rd or 4th time that Sign Me Up has done this, an objective begins to come up and they begin to split push aggressively. And that's not necessarily the answer. It doesn't look like Limit Testers is falling for it. Got Volibear in there, getting a little bit of fight out of Nautilus, but not so much. Clorox on the Rock still walks away from it without any serious damage. But they are going to fight over this Ocean Drake, which if
a flash in, and then Luckman's going to try to engage on this, but the rest of his team isn't quick enough to get in there. The Anivia gets hooked here by the Thresh, is going to use that zone. He has a teleport coming through, and another one on the other side. So much damage there going on to Solari's Revenge, who is not able to revive from the egg there. The backline getting hit, and that's the exact number they did not want to go down as Paranoia takes down Elise on the other side. Ame finding out 2 members here and Sign Me Up following that up here. This could spell the end of the game for Limit Testers. Only 1 member left alive, and Nocturne now encroaching on their base. Dang just doing his dangest to stay alive, but it is not enough, and that should spell a victory for your Nightmares.
Alpha Male Jungler has continually prioritized the need to get into this base, has made sure that even if their team has lost a team fight, they're still getting those objectives, getting those inhibitors, and pushing as hard as they possibly can. The death timers are too high. There is no recourse. Alpha Male Jungler has continued despite being 5-4 and 12. Absolutely has been a credit to their team. Doesn't matter if they're picking up kills. It doesn't matter if they're stomping the map. They have a singular focus, Alpha Male Jungler, and knows how to exploit that. Whether they have won the team fight or not, I really think that what was clutch there was when they were at Baron, Alpha Male Jungler broke off very early and began going down that mid lane, and that's when things started to kind of go poorly for the Limit Testers.
And a very close gold game. I didn't actually see the final score on that one, but up until you know, the last couple of fights, Limit Testers did have a slight gold advantage for the objectives that they had been taking earlier on in that game. An immense fight coming from them, but once again, the same result as better. This one did seem to go a lot more in their favor than last week's match did. The game itself went a lot longer. They were able to retaliate a little more consistently, and they had Alpha Male Jungler, at least at the point of, we even saw a Paranoia being used onto Elise on the Caitlyn. So much damage coming from those headshots and just the crit shots in general from the Caitlyn that he had to back off immediately after that, or she rather. So while it seemed very one-sided, it did get to the point, as it always does in League of Legends, where whoever can take the big fights around those objectives later on in the game are going to be able to push for the win, thanks to the respawn cooldowns that you're looking at so insanely high. So an incredible game from these guys, and I am excited to be able to, you know, drink some tea after the insanity that we have seen today. Maybe get a little bit of rest after that one, because my goodness, we have seen just so many crazy games here. And likely we will see your Nightmares continue on throughout this. If you guys, again, if you think that this is a team that you can take on, please sign up, because we'd love to see, you know, not that we want the victors to get taken down, but hey, that was a tiebreaker. They are now resolutely in first place, and some people have the opportunity to take them down and have the satisfaction as well of removing these guys from my own Nightmares.
Yeah, right. Solari's Revenge, player of the people, truly climbed their way up from being completely unknown, being a little bit, we didn't know, to being the reigning champion here. And again, if you think you can do it, absolutely sign up, try it out. I think we have a bit of a rivalry emerging here between limit testers and your nightmares. The switch out from Husky Templar to Lucky Man was very good. It has served them very well so far. Whether that was a sub or a deliberate choice, has been a really solid pick on the team comp. Whether it could be a name change, even we could just be seeing Husky Templar in the flesh. But it doesn't seem like it was the push. It wasn't exactly what they needed to go ahead. And in fact, I think they kind of it was a slower burn, and they lost by a little bit more than they did last time. But that's not for lack of trying. It's just the singular focus from Sign Me Up and Alpha Male Jungler, focusing those objectives made all the difference. Even though it's not glamorous, even though it's not fun, they once again display the fact that they are willing to do whatever it takes to win, even if it's not fun.
Yeah, it was a rough game, but you know what? That's what we're going to expect to see at this point as these guys find their footing. If they are pug teams, they have been doing a miraculous job. I can imagine these guys are now playing together if that is the case to begin with. If not, if you got a team of 4 people, and at least 3 of you are either female or non-binary, you guys are able to be represented here in this tournament. Go to supergirlgamerpro.com. You can also hit up either the Instagram or the Twitter there at SGGamerPro. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors there, Zenny Gaming, Nissan, U.S. Air Force, GameStop, and the Marines. Thank you, Kari, for joining me on this spectacular cast, and we will see you guys next week.
So I'm gonna hold on promoting you this quarter. Cool?
Drop the taco. Get in the car. Does this Sentra feel like a compromise to you?
Wait, what?
The handling, it's good, right? No compromise there.
Nope. Watch this.
Brake. Rear automatic braking. So if this Nissan Sentra isn't going to compromise, why should you? You're right. Atta girl.
The all-new Nissan Sentra with more standard safety features than any other car in its class.
No one knows where it comes from. Why some have it and some don't. It's the fighting spirit. It consumes fear and weakness. It stands ready to fight whatever shape the battle takes. Because as long as there are battles, there will always be Marines.
I never thought I'd feel this way.
No, don't hold on to me.
It's all worth it.
Ladies, Chris.
I hear that's really bad for you.
What? No, this is about finding true love.
No, I mean the screen.
Oh, no, we're all good there. These Zenny lenses, they block the blue light.
I mean, that's still really bad for you.
This is amazing. Please go away.
Chelsea.
Oh, no, don't pick her! Oh.
For a long time, we had to prove ourselves. But we always knew what we were capable of. We knew when the time came, we would be ready for anything. Our numbers keep rising. And so do we.
You can trade all the games, accessories, consoles, and tech you don't use anymore to get cash or store credit at GameStop. Check out the Trade Center on the GameStop app, visit GameStop.com/trade, or talk to a guest advisor at your local GameStop store to see how much your trades are worth.